They're putrid. They're the worst team in the NFL.
The 2024 season is over.
Lamar Jackson can't win the playoffs. He'll win a third MVP, though, so that's great. Drew Sample is the most important piece of the Bengals offense next year.
Go Joe Burrow. He deserves to be MVP. I wish he was the Browns quarterback. Kind of mean that.
If you're looking for the most reactionary, silly, and unserious show on the internet, then you're home. Live from Hamilton, Ohio, it's Off the Bench by Chatterbox Sports on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Well, hello and welcome on this glorious Wednesday morning. Reed Mouse, the most trusted voice pertaining to the Cincinnati Reds in this city, in this fandom, really, when you think about it. I am the most trusted voice, as I was arguing with somebody on Twitter last night. I don't know if you guys saw that, but I kept saying that I was the most prominent, then the most trusted Reds voice, or most trusted voice pertaining to the Cincinnati Reds, and he just kept going, "That's not true." And I was like, "No, it is true. I don't know what he's talking about." So that was a fun little conversation we had yesterday. But it's coming off maybe the Reds' best win of the year, or one of them. Like certainly one of the most exciting games, and everybody in this room was at the game last night. So what about that? Chatterbox Sports goes to the game 1-0, and it was a great little day. Shout out to Justin Kinner, who I'm filling in for today on Off the Bench. He got me tickets to the game. I texted him, and I was like, "Hey, can you get tickets?" And he's like, "Yeah, here you go. Send them my way." And then shout out to DJ E-Train for shouting out my dad at the stadium. It was my dad's birthday, and we were celebrating. My family also had no idea what 3-2-1 night was. My dad did, but like my brother didn't, and he still didn't comprehend it. Like I told him, it's $3 beers, $2 hot dogs, $1 ice cream. And then in the third inning, he went up and got beers and hot dogs. He's like, "Dude, I got 2 beers and 2 hot dogs for $10. I was like, "Yeah, that's math." Yeah. And he's like, we've been doing that. And it's like the second time he went up. Like, it's just like, you think that was just like here and go? Like, you think I was making that up? Speaking of making things up, I was telling these guys, I went with my little nephew. He's 3 years old, Cooper. He's cute as a button. And I, as an uncle, love lying to children. It's one of my favorite things, and I just kept lying to him, telling him that the Reds have never lost on my dad's birthday, on his grandpa's birthday. So that kid will probably grow up to about 13 years old thinking that the Reds are just undefeated on April 15th, unlike the Tampa Bay Rays, who are defeated on April 15th. But Elliot Rearing, Jacob Tissett in the room. Guys, you guys were at the game last night.
I was.
It was cold yesterday, but it didn't bother me.
It was very, very cold. It didn't really feel cold, I would say, until like the 8th inning, 9th inning. I feel like it was okay until then. As long as you brought if you brought a sweatshirt or a coat, you were going to be fine. It wasn't that cold. I honestly, if more summer nights felt like that, I'd go to 40 games. I'd go to all the games.
Really?
Oh yeah.
You prefer that over 85 degrees?
Oh, 1,000,000%. I prefer that.
So I have a hot take because I don't get hot. Like I sweat, but I don't mind it. I hate being cold. I think we can all agree that like 35 degrees really isn't that cold. Like it's cold, but it's not like frigid. Yeah. I would rather it be 100 degrees than like 45 degrees. Swear to God. Like I can sit in the sun all day and it doesn't bother me as long as I got something cold, water, beer, whatever it is. I'm fine. But I would rather be 100 degrees over 45 degrees any day of the week.
Yeah, last night far too cold in my opinion for a baseball game. You got to warm that up. Very excited to get out of this and just go down. And I mean, it's really just whatever hand is holding your beer is lost if you don't have a koozie. So have to either come prepared on 3-2-1 night with those cans or wait for it to warm up.
So if you knew what you were in for yesterday you got to bring gloves.
Yeah.
You got to be. I mean, gloves.
My buddy brought gloves. I made fun of him for it, but it was a good move.
But it's absolutely the move.
It was the right
because it's just something. Gloves and a hat. Gloves and a hat, and you're fine.
For sure.
You are fine. Listen, I will never make fun of someone for being prepared for the elements. Like, you might get a joke if you bring an umbrella somewhere. Like that's objectively a little funny until it starts raining, and then you're like, "Oh, well, you're the genius, and I'm the jackwagon for making fun of you for bringing the umbrella." But the gloves were a good call. You know what? I will say this. I was telling my family before we were going down there, I was like, just get tickets wherever. We'll be able to sit, which you were. There wasn't but 10,000 fans there yesterday. Wow. Like 10,000 engaged fans. Yeah. To the game's credit, it was a very easy game to stay locked into.
Oh, yeah.
Because there was action going on throughout. Like sometimes you go to a game and it's just like, it's like 3-1, and
Yeah,
like there's been 2 innings where actual people are on base. You're like, this is terrible. But that game was quick. Right? It wasn't quick, but it was high intensity, and I really do feel like the Reds were ready to go. Now, it was a high college crowd, a lot of college kids there that were drinking. That may have something to do with it. But I thought the crowd was fantastic.
They were going tarps off out in left field, as I saw at some point.
Man.
Then there was a group of guys by where we were sitting, and every time they finished a beer, they would all collectively smash the can. They would all throw it on the ground and just start smashing it. Into which, like, towards like the 9th, 8th inning, I was like, all right, guys, we don't got to keep doing the bit. It's a good bit, but come on. But outside of that, it was good. We started off in one section. Shout out to the Reds ushers. They kicked us out of a completely empty section. So we moved.
Shout out to those guys for doing their job, man.
Yeah, man, they do their job.
Just good guys.
They do their job.
I'm going to defend them.
No.
I'm going to defend
They do
them.
their job. They do their job.
They are doing what they are told to do.
They are.
The reason that they have to do that job is because there are some people that pay premium dollars for those tickets, and you don't want to like have to pay premium dollars and someone pays $5 to get in. Which, by the way, when I was looking for the cheapest ticket I could find was like $20. Did they not sell $10 tickets anymore?
Oh,
like,
you have to go to the window.
You have to go to the actual box office. Okay, so that's you guys are teaching me something here and there. But
the box office honestly is a good play nowadays because they'll give you a deal somewhere in there.
The best, especially on 3-2-1 night, the Phi Optics tickets with the loaded on
get
concessions
$10.
vouchers. Yeah, it's like $12 ticket, but there's.
I think it's 20. I think it's
with $10 of voucher.
Correct.
Yeah,
so
it's
you
like
get
a $10 ticket. Yeah,
that was always the play. Also, my family didn't believe me when I told them we went down and got dinner beforehand. I was like, I'm not eating. I'm gonna eat my weight in hot dogs, which, by the way, weighed myself today. I'm down 20 pounds. And
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah, so
Look at you.
that's exciting. But I told them I was going to eat my weight in hot dogs, and they're like, okay, whatever. I had 2.5 hot dogs down before the home run was hit in the first inning.
Wow.
Like I was housing those boys.
That's impressive.
I was housing those boys.
How many do you buy? How many do you buy at one time on $2 hot dog night before you feel bad about taking advantage of it?
I stopped after 4. 4 was my limit. Like I was actually genuinely hungry for like the first 3, and I was like, well, am I gonna do this? Am I gonna do this bit? I told them how many hot dogs I was gonna eat, and then I ate a 4th, and I was like, all right, that's it. But normally my move is 2 beers, 2 hot dogs, $10.
All right. I grabbed 3 hot dogs right off the rip, and I kind of felt like, all right, somebody's judging me. But that's fine. That's what $2 hot dog night's about. It's about the friends with family and everybody else enjoying discounted hot dogs. But anyway, I was into the one section. They kicked me out because my tickets weren't good enough, even though the section completely empty, not a soul in there. Again, we all know who's sitting there. We have the Ballpark app. That information's available to the public. But nonetheless, kicked out. Go to a section over. Honestly, way better seats. Probably, the Scout Club section. It's like just to the left of the Scout Club, right in front of the boxes, is where we decided to sit. And our good friend Caleb513 came over. He got his 1,000th baseball, so he came over, asked me to record the video for it. So I recorded it for him, and he sat by us the entire game. I did have to tell him. I said, Caleb, if you're gonna sit by me, you got to take off the Mariners jersey.
For sure.
You have to take off the I understand why you're doing it, but you can't sit over here by me. People are going to look at me and they're going to judge me if they see you with the Mariners jersey. Now, it was a Ken Griffey Jr. jersey, so it kind of made sense, but at the end of the day, you got to wear Reds if you're going to do the bit.
I believe he told us when we went down last year and did the ball hawk experience with him that all of his jerseys of other teams are ex-Reds, or at least an overlap between the two. So I think
that is true.
He
So
does
like
at least
like his Pirates is like Dave
it was
Parker.
Dave Parker.
It's exactly who it is.
And then
Okay.
so every team has an ex-Red, which
He says he
Who
has.
the Cubbies is?
He
Travis
says he has.
Wood?
He has 2 jerseys who he doesn't have.
Cubs is one of them.
Cubs is one of them.
Okay.
He said he won't wear a Cubs jersey and he won't wear a Yankees jersey.
fair enough.
So those are his 2. He has every other Major League Baseball jersey. Those are the only 2 he doesn't.
Are the
That's
Cubs
great.
your Reds fans' biggest rival?
Yeah. At this point, yeah. For me.
Period.
I still hate the Cardinals way more than the Cubs.
Cardinals. Because
I mean,
they are more successful.
I despise the Pirates, but I think that's more of, I don't really consider it a rivalry. I hate them.
It's the city
Like,
for me. My hate of the Pirates is just my hate of Ben Roethlisberger and the Steelers, and they just wear the same colors, so I hate them too.
I will admit that Pittsburgh, that is a really cool thing that they do, and more
The
cities
best.
more cities should do that. where the city has a color scheme, and that's just what it is. Like that's just everyone in the city. Like they're like in Cincinnati, it would be red. It would be red and black. Like everyone wears red and black. But hey, it is what it is. I was wondering that because I think if you ask most Cubs fans, obviously they'd say the Cardinals, and then I think there's a pocket of Cubs fans that would say the Brewers. But that's mostly just because they've had more success. You hate who's had more success. That's when I talk to some Bengals fans and they say the Ravens are their biggest rival. That's literally just because the Ravens have been better recently.
That's how I, kind of consider the Cubs Cardinals conversation is Ravens-Steelers conversation. I feel like, certainly when the Reds were competitive in the early 2010s, it was Reds-Cardinals. That was the rivalry. And then now, when the Reds have come down and the Cubs, they're kind of on the same playing field or have been for the last few years fighting for wild card spots, so it's taken the lead. But when everyone says the Cubs are the biggest rival over the Cardinals, I kind of liken that to people saying the Ravens are a bigger rival over the Steelers. It's just recency bias, I think.
Sure. The one thing about the Cubs-Reds rivalry is in my lifetime, hasn't always been the case, but in my lifetime, they've never been competing at the same time. They never once. I started as a fan for the Cubs in 2003 through 2008. The Reds were not very good. The Cubs were very good. And then it completely flip-flopped to where the Reds are winning the division and the Cubs are the worst team in baseball. Then it flipped again once the Reds were done and the Cubs were good. And then the Reds competed for a couple of years while the Cubs were really bad. This is the closest it's ever been. I think 2023 was the closest it's ever been. I've said for a long time, I think nothing would make me happier than going to a Cubs-Reds playoff game with my dad at GABP or Wrigley Field. Either one. Wrigley Field would be cooler, obviously. But GABP would be better for my dad. Maybe we'll see it someday.
Were you doing the bit last night where you were rooting against them?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't like that. I don't like that.
You think I go to GABP and root for the Reds?
Well, it's your dad's birthday. I thought there'd be some it's early. It's April. It's like
why do I got to cheer for the Reds? I know they're going to win. It's my dad's birthday.
It's true. They've never lost on your dad's birthday. That's what they've
true.
always said. But you weren't wearing like a Mariners jersey.
I don't own a Mariners jersey.
Not yet.
I don't own any Mariners gear. If I did, it would have been worn. I swear, I almost wore a red hat. That red Newman Jets hat that I have that has the big jet on it, which everyone asks me if it's the Winnipeg Jets, which it's the same logo. I almost wore that, and I was like, nah. So I wore my Cubs hat. I wore Cubs blue and a
You were that
Cubs
guy.
hat. Yeah, well, they're my favorite baseball team, and I'm going to wear baseball gear. So it is what it is. All right, well, we are going to take a short break. When we come back, it's going to be a very Red-centered show. It was what I think – these guys would know better than I would – but what I think is probably the best Reds win this year, and we're going to talk all about that today. We're right back on 1410, weighing in off the bench. Welcome back to Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Reed Mounts filling in for Justin Kenner on this Wednesday. He'll be with you for the rest of the week. It's my final day of work this week.
Oh,
my final
Friday.
day of work this week, and I'm going to Seneca, South Carolina. It's near Clemson for a bachelor party, 5 a.m. tomorrow morning, and I'm excited for that, but I've got a billion things to do in preparation for that. So, hey, it's good to be here today, though.
There we go.
It's good to be here today. There was a lot going on in the world wide of sports, and Elliot's going to tell you all about
That's
it
right.
through Elliot's headlines.
Score updates, breaking news, local and national headlines, whatever's going on in the world of sports, Elliot has you covered. Off the
There's the
Bench
whistle.
brings you Elliot's headlines.
I heard the whistle. That's all I needed to hear.
You just got to hear the whistle.
I heard the whistle.
That's right.
Elliot's headlines. I guess not really a ton of stuff, but there
A
was
bunch, so much.
There was certainly a few things. We'll start with baseball. The Reds. Shout out to the Cincinnati Reds. They have won 4 in a row. Have a winning record for the first time in this young season. The Reds had 9 hits, 4 of them from Gavin Lux. Austin Hays added 2 hits of his own, 4 RBIs, including a 3-run home run. That was pretty massive in that game. Nick Lodolo, his worst start of the year, 4 2/3, 5 hits, 4 runs, striking out 6. For what it's worth, it was cold. So that's what we'll chalk that one up to. Every pitcher gets a cold game. Luis Castillo, notoriously bad in the cold. So that's what this is. Just a cold game from Nick Lodolo. He'll be fine. The bullpen, dominant outside of Alexis Diaz, Jacob's guy. Emilio Pagan, Graham Ashcraft, Tony Santillan. They have thrown a combined 27 2/3 innings this season. They have a combined 0.73 ERA with a 0.59 whip. They have 23 strikeouts to 6 walks and have 5 saves with 10 holds. They have been incredible. Absolutely lights out from this bullpen. Good for them. Luis Castillo's final stat line in his return, 4 1/3, 7 hits, 4 walks, 6 earned runs. He only struck out 3 batters. And the big news I thought was big news, no tribute video to my guy?
Yeah.
No tribute video to Luis Castillo?
Seemed weird. I got there early enough that I would have been able to see it. I thought that was very weird that there was no kind of even announcement or anything like welcome back he's.
Is this his first time back?
First time pitching against the Reds in either ballpark.
Yeah.
Okay.
First time back in JBP.
Yeah, that's weird. I wonder if it just. There's no excuse.
Who
right?
else?
It had to have been just snuck up on him.
Who else would even qualify for that out of this era?
Nope.
Nobody.
No one.
Castellanos, maybe.
Jonathan India. Jonathan India, when he comes back, we'll certainly get
Agreed.
one.
Agreed.
Castellanos was here for 2 years. Are you giving him a tribute video? Or
I think if you ask Reds fans who the most painful departures are, it's probably Castillo and Castellanos. So,
Okay.
if you're going to put anyone else, I still think Luis is distantly
Luis Castillo
first there.
100% distantly first.
Yeah.
Second is Jonathan India, and then he.
For
I
sure.
I really don't think there's a conversation about any other guy, but
Yeah.
If Jonathan India gets one over Luis Castillo, I'd be
Jonathan India absolutely
Jonathan
should
will
get
get
one, but I'm not.
think so?
Yeah, but Castillo should have as well.
you're right.
All right. Well, anyway, nonetheless, that's it for Luis Castillo. A bad night in the cold. Was never able to pitch in the cold here. Not able to pitch in the cold for the Mariners.
Not the only Reds pitcher that returned last night. Casey Legumina came in and pitched an inning. That's the one we were all excited to see.
Those the Hispanic players, the ones from Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Venezuela, they famously go down and play in their home country in the winter. A lot of them struggle here in the early months. Maybe they should go north. Maybe they should go play in Canada for a month where it's 10 degrees and just get used to it a little bit. I don't know.
Canada. Up next for the Reds, Bryce Miller as he takes on Nick Martinez tonight at GABP. See you
God,
guys
that rotation's so good. The Mariners rotation.
Mariners
the
rotation.
Reds is too good
Mariners
too, but the Mariners is that's what will propel them into the playoffs.
The Dodgers, their lineup wasn't very good. I did see the one kid's family. He got his first hit of his major league career. We were kind of right by that family who cheered for him. That was pretty cool.
Do you know Cal Rayleigh's nickname? Their DH/catcher.
One of the best nicknames in sports.
It is. Big Dumper.
Big Dumper. You did tell me that.
Big Dumper. And
Big Dumper's very big.
They had it. Bobblehead night was prominently showed his backside.
I
They
like
posted
that.
all the pictures of his bobblehead in the catching stance. All the promotional pictures were from the backside.
I like that a lot. Big Dumper. Randy Rosarena's on the Mariners. I kind of forgot
Sure
about that.
is. Hitting like
Kinda
130.
Don't trade with the Rays.
Yeah.
Just don't trade with the
Yeah.
Rays.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
point blank.
The Dodgers, they take another from the Rockies. Final score is 6-2 yesterday. The Cubs, the Cublegs, they win in 10 innings over the Padres last night. Nico Horner had the game-winning triple in the 10th inning. Good for them.
Well, so the last 2 nights they have not played good. The reason I think the Cubs are so good is because they're walking, they are getting good starting pitching, and they are playing great defense. All 3 of those things. Well, starting pitching's been good the last 2 nights in San Diego, but defense has been atrocious the last 2 days. I fell asleep before a single run was scored, but I watched the highlights this morning, and the one run that the Padres scored was a Manny Machado home run in the 5th inning. The first pitch of the at-bat, he hit a pop-up in right field, foul territory. Kyle Tucker dropped it.
Oh, no.
Later in the at-bat, he hits a pop-up in foul territory behind the catcher. Gage Workman, the starting third baseman that day, drops it. Next pitch, he hits a home run. If you drop 2 foul balls, they shouldn't progress the at-bat. They should just give you a run, right? Like, that's just it's an automatic run right then and there.
They don't count as errors, though, right?
They do count as errors.
Oh, they do?
100% count it. If you do not get an out, on a ball that should have been an out,
Really?
that's an error. It doesn't matter if they don't have to get on base.
Doesn't matter if it's in play.
They don't have to get a ball on base. It just matters if you have a ball that should have been an out and it's not an out. Everyone says the rule is it's got to touch a glove or something like that. No, should it have been an out? Okay, it wasn't an out. Error. Also, Matt Shaw got demoted, sent down to AAA.
Oh no.
Our
What was he
rookie of the year.
hitting?
Like 130.
Ew. Well, that's like half our team. The Rangers, they shut out the Angels 4-0. The Astros, they shut out the Cardinals 2-0. The White Sox get blown out at home by the Athletics 12-3. Soderstrom hit 2 3-run home runs in that game. The Brewers, they blank the Tigers 5-0. The Mets, they lose to the Twins 6-3. The Braves drop another game, this time to the Blue Jays. 6-3, the final score there. The Nationals shut out the Pirates 3-0. The Nationals have Wood, right? That's that kid Wood. He's hit, 6 home runs this year to
James
start?
Wood. I don't know the number, but he's certainly very
Hit
good.
another last night. Unbelievable. And finally, you have the Red Sox beating the Rays 7-4. And now the Tampa Bay Rays, as we've mentioned on the show, they have not won a game on April 15th in 15 years.
Only 3 off days, important to note, because that's the first question everyone asked me when I said that stat yesterday was, well, I'm sure they've only played, 4 or 5 times. No, 12-12 on
Wow.
And yesterday they lost to the Red Sox, which brings them to 0-4 against the Red Sox on April 15th.
Wow.
That's an incredible run. Was it last year when they were 13-0? What was that 2 years
I don't
ago? Or
know.
last year when they started out like a crazy 12-0 or 12-1, and then they had one of their losses, and maybe their first loss of the year was April 15th.
Interesting. NBA news, the Warriors beat the Grizzlies last night 121-116 in Game 1 of the play-in. Curry and Butler combined for 75 points. They take on the West's 7 seed. The Magic, they blow out the Hawks 120-95. 120-95. Trae Young ejected in that loss. And tonight, it's the Heat versus Bulls and Mavericks versus the Kings. I'm going to be honest, I didn't really understand how the play-in, playoff worked thing. They're playing teams that are in the playoffs already, right?
What do you mean?
How does the play-in work for the NBA?
So
It's
7 and 8 play each other.
Okay.
And 9 and 10 play each
That's
other.
how it is. All right.
The winner
That's
of
where I was
7 and
getting-
8 is the 7
That's
seed.
where I was getting confused.
The
I
loser
thought-
of 7 and 8 plays the winner of 9-10.
I
The
see.
winner of that game is the 8 seed.
So if you're the 8th seed, you've got to lose twice
I
to
see.
not make the postseason.
That makes sense. Okay, I thought it was just 9 and 10 played each other for a spot to do something. I don't know. I didn't know what I thought, but I got very confused when I was trying to figure that out. But good for the NBA. Outside of that, not a ton of other sporting news, not from me. So those are my headlines.
Yeah, it finally feels like normal baseball, right? Like you're just another day, another game, everything like that. You're just kind of settling in. I mention this all the time. We always say pace yourself. It's 162, and it's really hard to do until right about now. Then you're just kind of in the feel of things. Every game you're not hanging on by a thread. But today, for 2 hours, we will be talking about all the Reds' exciting news and acting like it's just going to last for 162.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's just what you do. It's just what you do when you are a fan. And boy, oh boy, was it a good game for the Cincinnati Reds last night. Some news broke in the early day about the roster moves.
Yeah.
A lot of people were concerned about the different roster moves. I don't know your guys' opinions on those, about what was it? Marte was sent down. Hurtubise was sent down. Steer was sent to the IL. I'm doing this all off my brain.
No,
Steer's
still active. It was, and then to fill those 2 spots, it was
McLean
and Hays, and Mole was put on the IL a day or 2 ago.
Yep.
And that was Diaz's spot.
Okay.
Yep. So I mean, I wasn't too shocked at the move. Noelvi Marte for some reason just wasn't used when he was up here.
I think that's my biggest gripe. Yeah.
So he wasn't used at all. I mean, I think he got one at bat maybe. I'm not shocked that they sent him down. Looking at the rest of it, I'm pretty shocked that CES is still here. CES is a name that I thought would have been sent down instead of Hurtubise, just because at least Hurtubise is healthy.
Right.
CES very evidently not healthy right now, dealing with that back injury, whatever it is listed as now. Just hasn't looked good, and clearly something's bothering him. Spencer Steer. I love Spencer Steer. I love him. There's no reason for him to be playing baseball. There's no reason. There's just none. So I thought one of those two would go to the IL, but I guess that's not the case. They're going to roll with the lineup that we've got. Sam Moll, like I said yesterday, he was the only reliever that was really struggling. The rest of the relievers have found their groove. Ian Jabot, even outside of that Game 1, that disaster in Game 1, he's been very, very good since that appearance. No high leverage, I don't think. So I guess technically high leverage, but no ninth inning games for Jabot. So that's kind of helped him. Alexis Diaz, I'm not shocked that he's back. I will be curious to see how they play him. Because he is going to be it was weird hearing his music yesterday, his walk-up song, and it was in the sixth inning.
Change it, right?
Yeah, you got it. Something's got to change on it.
You can't have that electric of a walk-in the sixth inning of a 3-run game.
Speaking of electric walk-in, Emilio Pagan doing the WWE. He does Cody Rhodes, which is the WWE champion. That's his thing.
Pretty cool closer.
Will the Reds fans catch on to what they're supposed to do?
I don't know.
Because for Cody Rhodes, they get to a point, a high mark, a climax of the song, they go, whoa! I think if Emilio Pagan becomes electric, this team gets electric, I think Reds fans will catch on to what you're supposed to do in that moment. It's going to take some time. It's going to get there, but that's going to be a pretty cool thing.
There has to be like a video that goes viral on TikTok
that
explains it.
Yeah.
Somebody has to explain it to us because I wouldn't have known that, and I had no.
I think enough Reds fans are also wrestling fans.
You think so?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess the ones that, like I talk about the Venn diagram of our fans, people that consume sports media at a heavy rate, they're also a lot of times wrestling fans. So.
Interesting. Well, I did find this stat out about the Mariners as well. It was, I think Lance tweeted it yesterday. The Mariners heading into yesterday's game, they were 19-5. 19-5 all time against the Cincinnati Reds. That is the best winning percentage against any single opponent in franchise history. So the Reds coming into this series, I know last year they got swept in Seattle. Obviously, this would be a major series to start turning the tides for the old Redlegs because struggled against the Mariners in our history. Obviously, before the interleague play started.
Yeah, I was going to ask, when do you think the first game was played between the two teams?
Oh, I have no idea.
You just want to take a stab at it?
I don't know when the Mariners came into play. When were the Mariners?
Were incepted in 1977.
Do you know this answer?
I do know the answer. I looked it up yesterday because I was looking at the box score.
I'm going to say 1990.
2002.
Really?
Interleague play didn't start, I think, until 1998.
So they never played each other?
Correct.
They kind of played each other sometimes, right?
No, well, the All-Star game in the World Series. But up until, I think it was 1998, maybe 1995, when they included the divisional series, when they added another round to the playoffs. I think they started doing it. And what they did was you only played in June. You would play one division in June. And they did that up until 2013 when the Astros left the National League Central to go to the American League. And the reason they had to do that was because at that point there were 16 teams in the National League and 14 teams in the American League. When there's 15 teams in each league, there's always got to be one interleague game going on. So then they just said, all right, one interleague game. And then a few years ago we decided, all right, you're just going to play every team in baseball at least once and limit down how many divisional games you play. But yeah, 2002 was the first game that these two teams ever played. Haven't been good. We'll see if that changes. But yeah, it was a fun game last night. It was a fun game last night. I actually looked up the box score. I love looking up old box scores. As a fan, I remember, hey, I went to this game Sammy Sosa hit 2 home runs, so then I just it's like a scavenger hunt of when did Sammy Sosa hit 2 runs in 2006 against the Cincinnati Reds at GABP. So then I find it and I do it. But I think the starting lineup for the Reds that day went Barry Larkin, Sean Casey, King Griffey Jr., Adam Dunn, Austin. It was a really cool traditional Reds lineup. Which I love my sister more than anything besides my dogs and my wife in the world. And my sister was doing a really fun thing. You know when guys get together and they just name old baseball players. Oh yeah. My sister was doing that and I was so proud of her. It would be a half inning and she'd just go, Zach Cozart? And I'd be like, yeah, Zach Cozart. And then a few batters would go and she'd just go, didn't Drew Stubbs play center field? I was like, Drew Stubbs did play center field. And then she was like, Tucker Barnhart, Jason LaRue. We were just doing this for 9 whole innings. Great. It's honestly the best part about being a baseball fan.
Did you get the scoreboard stumper?
I did.
You did?
All 4 of them.
We missed Jimmy Rollins.
That's the one I missed as well.
We missed Jimmy Rollins.
It was easy. I knew Jimmy Rollins. The first one I said was Pete Rose right off the rip. Then I was like, oh, Frank Robinson. And then I was like, Jimmy Rollins. And then I was like, the last one I got was Jackie.
Yeah.
That's the first one I got because you just knew
You
that
normally
the question was
always
going to
a
have
tie-in.
him as an answer.
Yeah, there's always a
And
tie-in.
I was thinking, I was like, what famous Mariner played with the Reds? And I was just like, no. And I was like, oh, it's Jackie Robinson. It is Jackie Robinson Day. But that was one of the more easier stumpers. Jimmy Rollins in 2007 won the National League MVP. He had a 20-20-20-20 season. He had, I think it was 20 home runs, 20 stolen bases, 20 doubles, 20 triples.
Wow.
I think he had
Boy.
20 triples that year. I think that was his ploy. He should not have won the MVP, but he won it all the same. Jimmy Rollins, I thought, was going to get 3,000 hits, but he kind of got bad at the end of his career when he went over to the Dodgers and everything like that. And just, 3,000 hits. I don't know how many times we'll see that anymore. 300 wins
Yeah.
from a pitcher. I don't know if we'll ever see that again. Think about what you have to do to get 300 wins.
No.
You have to have 20 wins for 15 consecutive seasons. We will never probably see 300 wins again, unless baseball reverts back to the way it used to be played, which maybe happens. I don't know.
Or if wins, if they start adjusting when you can get a win, maybe 4 innings. If they switch.
Such a dumb. There's so many dumb baseball rules,
Yeah.
but the idea that you have to throw 5 innings to get a win. In reminder, if you only throw 4 innings, they just give the win to the next relief pitcher.
Yeah.
So, like, if all the same, you go up 7-0, right? And you hold the
Yeah.
lead for the entire game, but you only throw 4 innings. They give that win to the guy who comes in the 5th inning and gets 1 inning of work.
Mm-hmm.
How does that make sense?
No,
It's also the only stat in, I think, North American sports that you get when you're not on the field.
Yeah,
I think it's the only stat that I could think of that you can get when you're not out there. But, everyone likes their, hey, we can't kill everything about baseball. We can't completely. People like their wins. People like their errors. People like their batting average. I listen
love
to
my batting
podcasts,
average.
and to this day, like, it's hard not to, the first thing you bring up, go, well, he's hitting 220. Like, it's like,
You got to bring a batting average.
I guess.
You got to.
It's listen, if we start negating batting average as not being important and we start looking at on-base percentage and slugging percentage as being more important, Rita Rue didn't have a good college baseball career. But we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the Reds. What a game yesterday. They beat a really good team, and they continue to play winning baseball here in Cincinnati. We'll be right back on Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Welcome back to Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Reed Mouse, the most trusted voice regarding the Cincinnati Reds in this area. That's what everyone says about me. It's the number one thing people say about me. But we have a super chat in the YouTube chat for our radio listeners. Elliot?
We sure do. We have 2 super chats. We'll start with
baby.
Justin. I didn't understand this one. $1.99, though, he paid us to say, to help Everett's knobbery for blocking me. I don't know what that means, if we're going to be completely honest. So hopefully that doesn't mean
Knobbery?
anything. Yeah, what does that mean?
It doesn't sound good.
I don't know.
It doesn't sound good.
I didn't know what it was, but he paid for me to say.
Being a knob.
Chad Waits, $4.99. What are Elliot's thoughts on the Cubs attendance issue? Is it because it's a garbage city? Also, Jacob stinks.
That's right. Yeah, I don't bow down to big golf and root for the softest pansy to ever play the sport. So I stink.
Is that like he doesn't agree with your opinions, or does he think you actually smell?
He might think I smell. Yeah, I don't know. I did just swing through CVS yesterday on the way home from work. Had to pick up some new body wash, so
Nice.
should be fresh in the next 24 to 48.
Wow, there we go.
Does anyone else keep a stick of deodorant in their truck?
I got one in my backpack.
So
at all
I
times.
did.
I do. I keep a little travel
100%.
one, just in case.
I kept it in my car, my old car.
It melts. It melts.
It melted all over my old car.
Well,
That's tough. Probably smelled fine.
And once that happened, I decided I couldn't do it anymore.
I keep it. I have a little compartment underneath the middle seat. I have a truck that has a middle seat that you can pull up. It stays relatively temperature controlled in there. It might get like balmy during the summer and stuff like that, but at that point I just don't use it. It just stays in its little container, and that's that.
Well, I probably should, or I should get like a can of the spray one and put it in there. The spray one I don't think will melt.
Yeah, but then you have to use spray deodorant.
Yeah, and I don't like that, but it's it's what you have to do sometimes. I saw this stat regarding the Chicago Cubs as well. After tonight, the Cubs won't play another game that's scheduled to start later than 7:10 Central Time until August 22nd.
They are almost completely done with playing the National League West.
Really?
They are almost completely done with playing everyone in the West, which, listen, I was worried about the Cubs preseason, about what they were going to do, playing all these tough teams, but hey, it is what it is, and we'll keep it going as Boss is making some rearrangements to the room, and I love that. But everyone has attendance problems midweek in April. It's 30 degrees. I don't know. There was a glare on Jacob, maybe. Could be. Well, there we go. Here we go. Hey, the sun. What can you do?
What can you do?
What can you do?
You think you're tougher than the sun?
Comes up every day and sometimes goes down.
Yeah, sometimes. Sometimes it does come down. No one goes to games, especially in cold weather cities, midweek. I mean, they're still putting like 28,000 out there for their Wednesday games. But I think there was Chad Waits tweeted me a picture of the Cubs game that in question. It was a game that was like 10-2, and it was 30 degrees and raining. Don't blame them for leaving.
Yeah.
I'm a ball player. I love ball, but come on here. I mean, no one wants that. No one wants to go to that. The Ivy's not even green yet. But the Cincinnati Reds, big win yesterday. The Mariners are a tough team. I was just talking about how the Cubs have played really tough opponents. The Reds, seemingly every single opponent that they've played, sans the Pirates, and even the Pirates, you know me, I'm a hopeful optimist in all their young talent. But every team that the Reds have played so far this season has playoff aspirations and has legitimate playoff contention. I don't know if a single team other than the Pirates would have been more than plus 150 to make the postseason. I'm just thinking off the top of my head, almost every single one of them would. And they're playing good ball. They're 9-8. While that is on a 4-game win streak, and what is it, 6 of their last 7? 6 of their last 7?
Yeah.
Coming off the heels of the season is over. This is the worst roster the Cincinnati Reds have seen in years. I didn't do the whiteboard bit. I should have. I said all last year I was going to bring a whiteboard in here and just date whatever take was going on in Cincinnati Reds fandom, and that way at the end of the year we have a nice collage of this is what we thought was happening, because I keep looking back to last year when Mike Ford was going to save the lineup in the middle of May. Obviously that did not happen, but it's just fun. It's just fun to look back that this season was over. This team's terrible. Here they go rattling off 6 of their last 7. They play a really tough team, and the Mariners play one of the best pitchers in baseball. And more than anything, the middle of the order last night, they did their job.
Yeah.
Matt McClain gets on base multiple times. Ellie De La Cruz has a hit, but mostly Gavin Lux and Austin Hays. Gavin 4 hits from Gavin Lux, and obviously the big bops from Austin Hays. And it's good that what Austin Hays was the biggest offseason bat signing for the Reds.
Was,
for sure.
He was the biggest bat that was going to be implemented into this lineup. And it's always good when that happens in your first game, right? You don't have to worry, is Austin Hays ever going to produce? It just eases everyone back and go like, all right, Austin Hays is here. Already kind of showed, hey, he can help this lineup in a great deal. I think the middle of the order more than anything else is what got the Reds the win yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, it was impressive because it felt like it was going to be one of those games that we were talking about earlier. It's going to end like 3-1, 4-1. The offense doesn't show up. And they were able to fight through that. They were able to battle with Luis Castillo. Luis Castillo looked good to start, and then slowly started getting battered down. Some good at-bats yesterday by the Reds. They looked good. The offense looked good, and that's a credit to them for fighting right now. And I think Terry Francona after the game was saying something about how they're not stressing yet. They're not worried yet. They keep playing their same game. And if that's going to be last night, then the Reds are in for a great season. For the record, I did not say the season was ever over yet. I have not said that yet.
The season, the 2025 season.
I have not yet. I'm saving that for like mid-June.
It's got to be the same cadence.
Yeah,
correct.
You have to match it. But I do believe on Friday we both thought that the Reds would hold a playoff spot in June or July.
Yeah.
So we believe in this team having at least some level of fun over the next few months.
Well, and the reason you believe it is because, and last night was maybe, I would have to go back and look, maybe the first time that it seemingly they played complimentary baseball when they needed to. Nick Lodolo didn't have his best stuff. What does the offense do? They pick him up. They pick him up and they win that game, and they're able to fight through it. Reed kind of mentioned, though, like 3 walks for Matt McClain. For a team that ranks dead last on base percentage, getting 4 walks against Luis Castillo is massive. It's just absolutely massive. Gives you a chance. It keeps the base path moving. It gives you the opportunity to steal some bases. So it was an incredible game for, I would say, a decent amount of the lineup. Obviously, the guys who are struggling right now continue to struggle. Jeimer Candelario. I don't know if I'm going to find this right off the top. Here it is. Since opening day. Candelario is 5 for 53. 1 for his last 28, that one being the Friday night home run. CES obviously dealing with some sort of ailment, not himself right now. Another 0 for night for him. And there are guys certainly that are struggling. But to have Austin Hays, to have Gavin Lux, for the first time this season really pick them up, that's why you bring them here, and that's why they're there. So I was pleased.
So Matt McClain, Elly De La Cruz, Gavin Lux and Austin Hays went up to the plate 16 times yesterday. They got on base 10 of those 16 times.
Yeah.
Point blank, when your lineup is struggling, which it was last week, you ask the guys in the middle of your order, which is where your best bats are always going to be. You ask those guys, hey, can you help us out? Matt McClain gets on base 3 times. Elly De La Cruz gets on base 1 time. Gavin Lux gets 4 hits. Austin Hays gets 2 hits. That's exactly what you need to do. And that's sometimes, it doesn't happen, it's not going to happen for all 162. But the majority of those games, those 4 guys, especially against right-handed hitting for Gavin Lux, those 4 guys are going to have to perform. Now you're going to, on Monday I did this show and I said there's no way that this offense, you've probably seen this offense bottom out. I have a hard time believing that this is what the offense was. The first 9 games of the season, the first 10 games of the season. That offense is not as bad as it looks. And simultaneously, I don't think the pitching staff is as good as it looks. I think they're gonna come and go, ebbs and flows of a 162-game season. But you're going to have those guys, Elly De La Cruz, Matt McClain, the cornerstones of this team, and then the supplemental pieces. Gavin Lux gets right-handed hitting, and then Austin Hays as your what seemingly to be your everyday either outfielder or designated hitter that is going to hit in the middle of the lineup. Those guys are simply going to have to perform. And then can you get the guys that you expect more out of? Spencer Steer and Jeimer Candelario. Spencer Steer when he's healthy, Jeimer Candelario, and CES when he's healthy. Can those guys perform? And then all of a sudden you're looking at a very viable offense. You're looking at a very viable offense in a division that doesn't have an 100-game winner like the NL West does, like the NL East does. You're looking at a division that is easily the easiest to win in the National League, maybe in all of baseball, if you're looking at the 6 divisions. You have a viable offense. We already know what this starting pitching can do. And on top of that, this bullpen looks about as good as any in the league. And it's very easy to get excited about this team when it's playing well. Now, you don't want to mirror what you thought last Tuesday, about this team. This team's terrible. This team's not going to win 75 games. This team's not going to win 70 games. You don't want to mirror that with all of a sudden they win 6 out of 7. They win 4 in a row and go, oh, this team's going to win 95 in a row. But you're starting to see the blueprint of what this team is. You're starting to see when Nick Krall and Terry Francona and the front office and the manager and the coaching staff get together, you're starting to see, I think this is what works. I think it works when Matt McClain is walking 3 times. I think it works when Elly De La Cruz is running the bases at a high clip. I think it works when Gavin Lux is getting 4 hits against right-handed pitching. I think this works when Austin Hays is in the lineup. I think this is starting to work. You're starting to understand where the blueprint is and can it continue to unfold in front of you. And more than anything, when your team is playing well, you got to win games. So often you can look at a team and, man, it feels like we played really well, but we lost. You can't have that. When you're playing good baseball, you've got to win the games, and that's exactly what the Reds are doing. They're finding ways to win. You don't get the best start from Nick Lodolo. You're facing one of the best pitchers in baseball, Luis Castillo, and what do you put 8th spot on him. You're facing probably the best pitching rotation, maybe besides the Dodgers, in baseball, and what do? You put an 8th spot on him in front of a home crowd, and you do it all. You're starting to see what this team can do.
Yeah.
I don't know if
I think there is a point to that, and my issue right now is a lot of the Spencer Steers, Jameers, CESs. Those are the 3 things that I need to be fixed at some point this season, or at least to have an answer to.
Right.
And we still don't have Tyler Stevenson, and you still, you're dealing with a lot of behind the scenes stuff that, the lineup that Nick Kroll and Terry Francona in the front office made still hasn't been what we all thought. But to Reed's point, yeah, I mean, if you get a little bit more from the middle of our lineup, from Matt, from Ellie, from Gavin, and from Austin Hays, if you get those just 4 guys alone to play up to the standard that I'm going to hold them to, that this fan base is going to hold them to, the expectation that they were all held to last year that didn't live up to it probably, outside of Ellie, if we can live up to that expectation with just those 4 guys, you're going to be in the fight. You don't need 9 guys to hit 300. That's not what we're talking about here. You don't need 9 guys to hit 275. You're still getting a decent amount too, and I'll give a quick shout out to Jose Trevino, who has been way better at the plate than I would have thought. Way better.
I thought he hit the hardest ball yesterday.
I think he did. He did. He roped one down the left field.
Smoked.
He roped one down the left field line. I think that. If you're going to get production out of a guy like Jose Trevino, who I did not have high expectations for offensively at all. In fact, I probably mocked him a few times on this show regarding his offense. To have a guy like that step up is who I'm looking for next. How can we replace Tyler Stevenson? We get Jose Trevino to do the same thing. Austin Wynns isn't the world's best catcher, but Austin Wynns is still hitting a pretty damn good baseball right now. Jake Fraley had the quietest 2-hit night.
I think he had the hardest hit ball last night.
He had one of them for sure. I mean, that ball into right field for the ground rule double.
Automatic double.
Automatic double. I had a debate with my friend Zach about that last night. But to have
what
the
debate
bottom
is there to have?
to have the bottom of the lineup step up too is big. Now, I'm going to need more from Jameer and CES. I don't know what's going on there. But because this is a more positive show,
here's the positive spin on it. This team's winning without those guys. Those guys are hitting worse than you can possibly imagine.
Sure.
They're hitting worse than you could possibly imagine. When you're in February and you're like, what's this season? What's it going to look like this summer for the Cincinnati Reds? You imagine Jeimer Candelario hitting around 100 OPS plus. I was going to use the Fangraphs one, weighted runs created plus. You expect them to hit around that. And when they're nowhere near that, both him and Spencer Steer and CES, and you're still above 500 playing good teams, that's where you get excited because it's not going to be this bad. There's no way it's this bad all season long. So when those guys start to perform, maybe if Austin Hays and Gavin Lux and Ellie De La Cruz and Matt McClain, have a bad few weeks, those guys can pick up the slack and you can start to make a cohesive unit around playing complementary baseball.
Complementary baseball is my big thing. It's if you're able to pick somebody up when they're down, that's what I've wanted. The Reds have been unable to do that for a long time. And maybe this is the first season that we see where they're able to do that. Obviously, you have to have pieces still available, and they have to be somewhat healthy. Matt McClain has to stay healthy. I mean, it's such a big improvement when he's in the lineup. It changes, no joke, it changes the dynamic of the team when Matt McClain's in there. When he's not there, this is a different roster. I know we haven't seen Austin Hays yet this year, and boy, was it fun to see him last night. But Matt McClain's the game changer here. Ellie's fantastic, but Ellie can't carry the weight of 8 guys on his shoulder. He can't do it. The two of them together, that kind of changes it up a little bit. Because I think Reed said they got on base 10 times out of 16, them and Lux and Austin Hays. You know, if they're able to do that going forward, then my outlook for this team is a lot different than it was a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, for sure. Because I didn't think that, to be quite honest, they were going to be able to fight through this. And Jacob and I had the clip last week that Austin Hays wasn't going to be able to save the Reds. Maybe
he can.
He won't.
Maybe
Austin Hays will not save the Reds.
Maybe.
Point blank. He's not that bat that you throw in and you go, all right, all things are created. But what he can do is he can fill in some gaps.
Yeah.
Like when I said when Jamier Candelario, CES, and Spencer Steer are hitting terribly. He can fill in the gaps. You go, all right, we've got a middle-of-the-order kind of pop guy. He can generate some pop, get you some home runs, get you some slug when the guys that you expect to do that aren't hitting well. So, yeah, he's not going to save the lineup, but he's certainly cavalry. He's certainly on that horse coming over the hill right now.
Correct. And that's what I was looking for, and I got it last night. But my final thought as we try to end this segment here, the Reds starting rotation is playing so well right now that if you're able to stack these series up, and you got the Mariners, I think you have the Orioles next. I'm not going to expect you to beat Baltimore, and that's not what I'm going to expect you to do. But if you can continue to stack up the series you're supposed to win here and take advantage of the Reds while they're somewhat healthy, or take advantage of your lineup in the starting rotation while they're somewhat healthy, obviously the lineup's going through more than the starting rotation is, then I think you're going to put yourself in a good position going forward. Again, I'm not changing my outlook for the team. I'm not going to say they're an 87-win team. I don't think they're an 85-win team. But as the farther you push that goalpost down, the better the vibes are in that locker room, clubhouse, the better the vibes are in the ballpark with the fans. It's just keep pushing it. Keep pushing that thing down and play complimentary baseball for as long as you possibly can. And hopefully when the wheels fall off, the Reds will already be pretty far into the year.
All right, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to talk more Reds. We've got a buy or sell segment later on. It's going to be Reds-related. Spoiler alert. But we'll be right back here on 1410 Wing AM. Hi, I'm Reed Mouse. Welcome back to Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers, filling in for Justin Kinner. I'm the most trusted voice when it comes to the Cincinnati Reds. That's a bit that I cannot wait to add to my Twitter bio. I cannot wait to add it to my Twitter bio that I'm the most trusted voice regarding the Cincinnati Reds, which, as the most trusted voice, I do have a question. I see it in the chat. I know you have this bit. Why do we hate Redzilla?
I think Redzilla makes it about himself. I think he's a self-centered robot.
All bit aside, why don't we like Redzilla?
I think it's annoying. I think that stupid sound is annoying. I don't need a golf cart to run on the track during the middle of my game. The same way I don't want to wave during the end of that game last night. The wave happened, and I sat down for all of the wave. Didn't participate in it. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to fall for the wave. You guys can try to do it. You can do whatever you want. I'm still in.
Wave is dumb.
Huh?
Wave is dumb.
100%.
Dude, imagine doing the wave like when it's a tight game and there's runners on base.
Yeah,
come on.
It's the worst.
Like, can we focus on the game a little bit? But
Wave is banned from beautiful historic Wrigley Field.
Is it?
Fully banned.
Oh, yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. No wave.
Love that.
No wave.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, the Reds should ban it. I think the Reds should ban the wave. I think it does nothing for anybody. All it does is distract me while I'm watching the baseball game while we have runners on and we're fighting.
I hate Redzilla going out during the game.
Redzilla is a distraction.
Well, they're not playing baseball.
It's between innings.
Yeah, they're not waiting for Ellie De La Cruz to come up to the plate and then they go
which would be awesome.
And while he's hitting, they're just shooting balls out the sky. It's in between the innings. It has nothing to do with the game.
I'm out on Redzilla. I'm completely out on Redzilla.
Are you out on all mid-inning stuff?
No, I'm just out on Redzilla because I think Redzilla takes it too far.
Elliot hates Take Me Out to the Ball Game.
No, I don't hate Take Me Out.
He
to
had
the
a
ball
thing
game.
about
It's
that.
distraction during the middle of the innings.
No, I don't hate. That's a unifying experience. Redzilla brings out the worst in people. because people are fighting for the little balls, the little foam balls. They're throwing them.
You got to throw them back.
They're throwing kids on the ground for these little foam balls. It's like, come on, guys. Can we have some decency and please watch a baseball game in good unifying spirit?
I remember when we went as a company to the midday game against the Twins back in 2023. Hunter Green was pitching. The Twins won that game. It was an important game for the playoff push. But we were sitting really close to the dugout, and Redzilla popped off. I mean, we got like 12 Redzilla balls because there was no one at that stadium because of gas prices. And we got like 12 balls, and you guys were hoarding them.
It brings out the worst in us.
You guys were hoarding these balls, and there was this poor 6-year-old kid.
Oh, no.
Like 4 feet away from us.
You're a ball hawk.
I'm not even the Reds fan. This guy's wearing his Ellie De La Cruz jersey, and we're hoarding balls. So I walk on over and I give him 2 balls. I give him 2 Redzilla balls. He was extremely grateful for that. I'm looking at you guys just shaking my head.
It brings out the worst in us. What can I say? And also, half the time Redzilla runs out of gas. He literally runs out of gas, and they have to like bring him back into the bullpen.
He doesn't run out of gas. He runs out. He doesn't blow the balls.
Yeah, or that. Sometimes they've run out of gas.
It is the best when you're like on the third baseline.
Yeah.
And sometimes they just like aren't shooting them off until they get to like behind home plate, and then you just sit there at third base like, oh.
Yeah, it's terrible.
No one got me.
It's another reason why we shouldn't have put the nets in. It takes Redzilla baseballs away from so many fans.
The Nets thing is silly. silly. That was a dumb. I mean, most of the fights that we fight as baseball fans are dumb. Fighting the Nets, most things that we do in baseball, we get over them within the week. But we'll fight them up until they happen.
Oh, yeah.
We will fight tooth and nail for everything. And the Nets were going to ruin our viewing experience. And unless you're literally first row, you don't even notice the Nets. They literally aren't a part of your viewing experience at all. And they do a really nice job. But Cincinnati Reds got another great win. And they're playing really, really, really good baseball right now. And they've got another tough one here tonight against the Seattle Mariners. But I wanted to ask you guys about this bullpen. And I do have a buy or sell later on, but maybe I'll just spoil it and do it right now. Are you fully bought into this bullpen as good as it's pitching right now? Are you expecting this to be I understand that you guys recognize that at some point they're going to blow a game or two. And they've already blown one at the beginning of the year in Jabot on opening day. But are you fully bought into this as a bullpen that when we have a lead late in the game, I'm comfortable?
I'm maybe different than Jacob on this. I think the back end of this bullpen is lights. I think to have Emilio Pagan be 5 for 5 on save opportunities. You have Tony Santillan, who maybe has been the best reliever in baseball this season. I mean, I don't know a guy who's I think he has like a 0.4 WHIP. I don't know anybody who's been better than Tony Santillan, especially given I think last night was his 10th game, and he's still pitching lights out consistently. And then on top of it, you add a starting pitcher who didn't work as a starter, but you bring him to the bullpen, and he's looked incredible in Graham Ashcraft. He's looked incredible. So yeah, I am bought in for the most part on this bullpen. It's this if our starters go down, and by the way, to be completely honest, that's why the bullpen's been so successful, is how dominant the starting pitching has been.
Yeah.
So it does go hand in hand with that, and once the starting rotation goes, if they ever go down, maybe that's what we start to look at and pay attention to. But as of right now, in the current format we have, I am more confident in the Reds bullpen than I've been maybe since 2013, 2012, when you had Chapman closing games. I have not been Jonathan Broxton. I have not been this confident in the Reds bullpen in a long, long time. I think Emilio Pagan has been incredible. I think when you're able to throw strikes, that's all I ever ask for my closer. Just throw strikes. If you lose, eventually it's going to happen. You're going to give up a walk-off home run. You're going to give up a home run in the 9th, and you're going to blow it. It happens. It's baseball. It's 162 games. But as long as you're not walking guys like Alexis Diaz, who I'm sure we'll talk about here in a second, as long as you're not doing the Alexis Diaz save, I feel very, very, very confident in the Reds bullpen to be able to continue this going forward. Brent Suter, I think, is going to be better, and even if he's not better, he's still that 5th, 6th inning guy. And there's other names on there. Ian Jabot's a 5th, 6th inning guy when the Reds are up by 5 or they're down by 5. That's his role. Everybody's got a role right now that I believe in, and that's the big thing. Outside of Alexis Diaz, who again I don't know what he's doing. Barlow yesterday looked terrible as well. I didn't shout out Barlow, I guess, when I mentioned Alexis Diaz looking bad, because Scott Barlow looked horrible. And I'm hoping that changes. It's been if Sam Moll was the guy that clearly had an issue this year, Scott Barlow's my number 2. Is all right. We might have something to worry about with Scott Barlow, but Scott Barlow's not coming in the 7th, 8th, or 9th.
How many games do you think Scott Barlow's pitched in so far this year?
4, 5?
How about 8?
8? Really? What's that ERA?
5.4.
And again, it's early, so it doesn't matter. But I'm just saying that Scott Barlow has looked rough.
I'm just saying he's 3rd behind Pagan and Santillan, which is kind of crazy for usage
wild.
when you look at the names in our bullpen.
Yeah, that's wild.
Jacob, what about for you? Are you excited about this bullpen?
You can't sit here and say you don't believe in Pagan and Santillan right now, because they've shown it now through nearly double-digit start or appearances for both of them. 10 for Santillan, like Elliot said, 9 for Pagan. Both have been phenomenal. Outside of those two and Graham Ashcraft, I don't know how much faith I have in these guys. I don't believe in Ian Gibaut. I don't care how good his numbers have been since opening day. I don't believe in Scott Barlow. I don't believe in Brent Suter. Taylor Rogers, I think we all expected him to be one of the better arms in this pen. Maybe he still can be at some point this year. It doesn't seem like the way they've used him so far leads me to believe that they have a ton of faith in him in high leverage situations. Maybe that's something that can come later in the year, but this is a massive flip now to be talking about this bullpen as a strength of this team. And we sat here for 4 hours previewing opening day saying who's worse, the outfielder or the bullpen. That was the debate we had for hours because we thought it was so close between these two. And yesterday we win a game because of the outfield, Austin Hays and Gavin Lux, and the bullpen has been a strength of this team. So I'm going to believe in the back end of it until they prove I shouldn't.
Right.
And I
don't think I have a ton of faith in them for 162 games.
And I'd argue the only mistakes the bullpen has made this year, and I don't mean to be, calling the manager thing again.
Well, they don't.
But they've been poor managerial decisions as to the runs that they've. Ian Gibaut does not close baseball games. Him closing on opening day is a joke. And when you have Mike Yastrzemski at the plate and it's righty-lefty, you don't throw it. You don't throw that ball. No manager in baseball throws that ball except for Terry Francona in that situation. So most of these situations, they've been pretty solid, man. They've been unbelievable.
Yeah. So this is where I last time I hosted this show, I went on a big rant about Terry Francona. Why are we giving Nick Kroll? Why do some people give David Bell the benefit of the doubt last year, but Terry Francona doesn't earn that right? And I was like, what has Nick Kroll done? The one thing where I will give Nick Kroll credit is when you are a small market, when you don't have a whole lot of money to work with, one of the easier things to kind of fill the needs of, right? Kind of to construct your roster around is a competent bullpen because it is the cheapest facet of the game. It is. Starting pitching is expensive. Good hitters are expensive. Bullpen, not that expensive. I mean, some guys are. But I would always argue that you probably should never spend $20 million on a closer. Why would you spend $20 million on a guy that's only going to throw 60 innings? Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But that is where I'll give Nick Kroll credit. The way that he has, generated this roster, made this 40-man, made this 26-man roster. He has done so on a budget, and he's made a really good rotation out of it. And that's one area where you can do that. That's what those Cleveland Indian Guardian teams that were good for forever always had a good bullpen. The Milwaukee Brewers seemingly always have a good bullpen. The Tampa Bay Rays, when they were playing really well, always had a good bullpen because those were things that you could make. Those were things you could do on a short budget. And that's what the Reds are going to have to do. I think that probably out of all the facets of a baseball game, you're talking hitting, you're talking fielding, you're talking starting pitching, you're talking bullpen, you're talking base running, all those things. The bullpen probably is the most overinflated how important it is because on average you're getting about 3.5 innings of a game from it, but it is always lingering in your mind when it's bad. When a bullpen blows a game, it's mind-numbing, it's terrible experience as a fan. So you always remember it more, but there's a reason it's the cheapest thing to create. There's a reason that it is that. So the Reds, I'll give Nick Kroll credit in that regard about creating such a great bullpen. I'll give our guy Evan Maurer credit. We had a conversation because, as you know, on Monday I had this big fight about Terry Francona. Why aren't you giving their 500 with one of the worst offense? All the things that I said on Monday. He sends me a DM and he just goes, managers don't matter, Reed. And you know what? As I did, we sent a few messages back and forth pleading our points. And then I realized we circled back to our original theses of our debate. And I go, Hey, listen, man, we disagree with each other. Let's leave it at that. Sometimes you got to do that when you're arguing with people. Like, hey, you think that managers are only there to display. Like, you think that a team should be managed by, the stat sheet for optimal performance, which is fair. Like, there's a reason that these numbers exist. There's a reason that you say, hey, this is why we do this matchup. This is why we put this pitcher in at this point. This is why we're trying to steal bases. That's fine. That's the way that we're trying to optimize baseball. And then my point is that baseball players are still human beings. Human beings react well to good leadership, and they always will. They aren't algorithm. They are human beings. You can optimize it, but at the end of the day, they still will respond well to leadership. And we'll just leave it at that. Right? That's what I believe. That's what you believe, and that's all good. But I give credit to Nick Kroll for making a good bullpen. We're gonna take a short break. When we come back, we're gonna do some buy or sell. We have some buy or sell here. We're 16 games into the season. 17 games into the season. 9-8. The Reds are. And they're playing really good baseball against some really good teams. We'll be right back here on 1410 Wing AM. Welcome back to Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Reed Mouse filling in for Justin Kenner. We have Elliot Rearing, Jacob Tissett in the room. I am the most trusted voice in this area.
Love that.
When it comes to the Cincinnati Reds, I'm gonna change my Twitter profile picture today with a picture of me probably doing like this, and it's gonna say the most trusted voice on the Cincinnati Reds.
That's great.
And I can't wait for some people that just remember me for the Dear Reds fans bit that I did 2 years ago, which still makes its rounds here and there around the Twitter sphere.
You're just a year early, honestly.
Was I?
Wasn't it?
I mean, that was when they were projected to win 66, and I said, I think the best quote in that whole Dear Reds fan thing was, "You think you're going to win 66 ball games? That's competitive baseball. That ain't going to happen." And what'd they win that year? 81,
Yeah.
80, 82
Yeah,
maybe?
right around there.
Did they go over 500
They were over.
that year?
I think they were a game over 500.
82 and 80. So, woof. That one was bad. That one was bad. But here we are. Sometimes you got to do the bits. Buy or sell. Austin Hays will be the second best hitter on this team, Elliot Rearing.
Can I factor in health on this?
Well, you should.
I think that's the question.
Yeah, I'm going to buy it. I don't like predicting injuries, but I'm going to hope Austin Hays plays the rest of the season. And if that's the case, I'll take his batting style over certain guys who I don't think are going to be healthy the rest of the way. I love CES, always dealing with an injury. Matt McClain. I love Matt McClain. He's got to give me this season.
That's the debate you just had in your head, though,
Correct.
right? Which
Correct.
one of those two guys do you think can play more games this year?
100% I do. And if Matt McClain stays the whole year healthy, then it's going to be Matt McClain. But if he doesn't, which I don't like betting on injuries, but I'm going to bet on injuries here for this topic. I'm going to say that Austin Hays isn't going to get hurt anymore, and he's going to be the second best hitter on the team. I have no doubt in my mind that that's going to be the case. No disrespect to Gavin Lux. He'd be top 4, top 3. But those are clearly the 1, 2, 3, 4 of this lineup as to who's going to finish with the best numbers. And I think Austin Hays will. I think Austin Hays will show a little pop. I think he's going to bring home runs. I think he's going to get on base. I think he's going to do everything that I'm going to ask him to do. And I'm going to hold him to that standard for the rest of the way. I'm buying.
I think if Austin Hays is the Reds' second best bat this year, that they're further than the playoffs than we'd like him to be. For him to be their second best bat, it means Matt McClain is hurt or not playing at a high level. Mm-hmm. We talked all the way through this offseason leading up to opening day that if the Reds are going to be any shade of competitive at any point in time this year, it's driven by that middle infield, and it's driven by them both playing at an all-star level for most of the year. So if Austin Hays is going to be the second best bat on this team, we better hope it's 2023 All-Star Austin Hays, because you're going to need that kind of production for this team to be competitive with him in that role. I mean, he really does raise the floor of this lineup, though, in there in the outfield. outfield at the DH role. I think Gavin Lux, like Elliot said, is going to be great. Those are no doubt your top 4 guys, and they should be all year long. If we get health out of all of them, I think this team could have some fun months in the summer, but I am going to sell it just more so out of optimism than anything else. I really hope Matt McClain can stay healthy.
That's the right look at this. I think Elliot put out a tweet last week. He said, when was the last time that the Reds had a good free agent signing? I think at the end of the year, you'll look at Austin Hays as a good free agent signing. Do I think he's like all-star caliber or anything like that? We're going to get 2023 Austin Hays? No, I do not. I'm selling this because I think there's too many bats in this order that have a much higher ceiling than Austin Hays. As Jacob said, it raises the floor. As Jacob said, if he's your second best hitter, this team's probably not very good. But I think that there's just too many guys in this lineup that just have way more to offer than Austin Hays. And obviously, Ellie De La Cruz is who you're looking at to be your best hitter. You're looking at Matt McClain to be your second best hitter. And then what does it look like when Jeimer Candelario, if he can ever turn something around? What can it look like when Gavin Lux is platooning right and playing against right-handed hitters? What does it look like when Spencer Steer's batting well again? What's it look like when Tyler Stevenson comes back, if he ever comes back? There's a lot of guys that can be more of an impact than Austin Hays. And I think Jacob said it best, where you're going to sell this out of optimism alone, saying that if Austin Hays is going to be your second best hitter, this team's not very good. All right, guys, second buy or sell as I'm pulling it up right here. This team's bullpen, I talked about this. This team's bullpen is the best that they've had in the last 10 years.
Yeah, I'm buying. I'm going to buy that. I think they are. I think they're lights out. They're nails. I trust the guys that are in there. I mean, this bullpen being as good as it is without Alexis Diaz factoring in is crazy. I didn't think that was going to be the case. But looking over the last 10 years, it's been a collection, no disrespect, of guys who you can't trust. The Reds a few years ago in 2021 was having Heath Hembry close out baseball games. It's been something very, very cool to see that we're able to have guys that we trust. Casey Legumina. No disrespect to our guy, but come on, the guys that we have right now are lights out. They're dominant. They're trustworthy, and outside of everything, like, they're doing their job better than I could have even imagined. So, yeah, I'm going to buy that. The last 10 years, 100%.
Heath Hembry's still playing ball.
No, he's not.
Yeah.
Where?
Wow.
For the AAA Durham Bulls.
Good for him.
Playing for the Durham Bulls. He most recently played in the major leagues for the Tampa Bay Rays back in 2023. 36 years old. The most famous athlete probably ever from Spartanburg, South Carolina.
Yeah, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, you can't think of anyone like Zion or anyone like that. So
Nothing
it's
jumps
just
out.
certainly Heath Hembry. Jacob, buying or selling?
I'm going to sell it. Certainly right now, through however many 16, 17 games they've played, they are the best statistically that we've seen for a while. The Reds were top 5 last year in save percentage. I don't think they're going to be that good. Alexis Diaz was an all-star closer 2 years ago. I don't think we have anyone that's going to be as good as he was through the first half of that year. So I am going to sell this, but I do think that this bullpen is good enough to, get us to a point and keep us in games where we can win a lot. So hopefully that when Nick Martinez goes to the bullpen, if that does happen with Rhett Lauder coming up potentially at some point soon, and if Alexis Diaz can get any version of Alexis Diaz, even if that isn't a closer role in a 6th, 7th, 8th inning guy, that'd be phenomenal. There's a long way that this bullpen could improve, which is very exciting to see with how they're playing so far right now. But I am just going to sell it.
You know what? As a Cubs fan, as someone who wants to sour the mood about the Cincinnati Reds, even though I am the most trusted voice when it comes to the Cincinnati Reds in the area, I want to sour this, but it's hard not to buy this. And the reason I'm buying this isn't necessarily because of what they've shown through 17 games, at least statistically. It's what I'm seeing from the stuff. Like, Emilio Pagan's got really good, and Tony Santillan has really good stuff to where everyone knows Alexis Diaz has fantastic stuff. And when you have people that pair with him in your bullpen, if you can have some guys figure it out, it's not hard to understand that this team can win on the margins in those one-run games. As we know, when you're trying to make it as a small market team, when you're trying to make it as a small budget team, you've got to win in the margins. You've got to overperform in certain areas. And I think this bullpen is absolutely that, to where when your team has a small lead against a divisional opponent late in the game, you can't lose those games. Point blank, you can't lose those. And I think this bullpen has the capability to do that. So I'll buy. I'll say it's the best bullpen that this team, this franchise has seen in 10 years.
If they pitch the way they've pitched for the first 17 games, they'll be the best bullpen this team's ever seen. So that'll be, certainly hope they can keep it up and hope I'm wrong. And that's the good thing about buying and selling that side of this stuff. I either get to be right about the bullpen not being that good, or if the bullpen's really good and the Reds are a playoff team.
So here's where it's going to get a little weird. Are we due for a break here coming soon? I think, you know what?
You still got a little bit. I think
we can probably do one more.
We'll do one more, and it is going to be, once again, about the bullpen. It is a negative one.
Uh-oh.
Alexis Diaz is washed. Buy or sell?
Buy. No disrespect, Alexis Diaz.
How is that not disrespectful?
You've seen this over the last few years now. He threw a fastball yesterday, and I know it's just one pitch. And I looked at it. He threw an 89-mile-per-hour fastball.
Were all in the 80s.
He threw an 89-mile-per-hour fastball, Jacob, in the middle of the plate. I love Alexis Diaz. Nobody expected him to be as good as what he was, as good as he's been with the Reds. But he walks so many. He had there was a point where I think he had 9 balls and 9 strikes. He doesn't get the ball over the zone. He just doesn't do it. I don't care that whatever. What's the thing that tracks the automated strike zone thing? Had 3 more strikes.
4 balls yesterday.
The Reds benefit from that all day long. There was the Matt McClain walk to bring home runs. There was absolutely a strike 3 in there that we didn't get called in favor of us. We got the benefit. So I'm not going to write too much into that stuff. I don't think Alexis Diaz has it anymore. And certainly I'm not going to want Alexis Diaz coming out in the 6th inning. That's not what I want, because I don't think he's the best option in the 6th inning. There is an option in the 9th inning to have Alexis Diaz, because, as Jacob said, he was doing his job. It didn't look good. You hated every second of it, but he got saves, and he didn't blow them. He'd load the bases up, but he would get all 3 outs before the other team would score a run. So I'm not going to sit here and say that there's no role for Alexis Diaz, but if it's not as the closer, I'm going to sit here and say confidently that I do not want him pitching in the 7th. I do not want him pitching in the 8th. He becomes a low-leverage guy, at least in my eyes, until he can figure something out, because he still looks like the Alexis Diaz from last year and towards the end of 2023. And that's what I'm afraid of. So I'm gonna buy that this is it for Alexis Diaz. There's not going to be much better than this.
So in question of this, I haven't been following the Alexis Diaz in spring. I obviously was at the game last night, so I didn't have the eagle eye view of what his pitches looked like. I couldn't see how good his stuff was. When I said he's got really great stuff, I'm basing it off of years past. Evan Marr, some other people in the chat said his stuff looks poor. Is that, I don't know if you guys even know that answer, but is
his fastball looks terrible.
Is his stuff going down? Because you said you don't want Alexis Diaz in high leverage situations, and I understand why, because he's been unreliable. Alexis Diaz of the past is absolutely a guy you want in there when you need a strikeout.
Yeah.
That's the guy that when there's a runner on 2nd and 3rd and less than 2 outs, you ride with Alexis Diaz, because if someone puts the ball in play, they're getting a run, so you got to get a K, you throw Alexis Diaz. Is he not that guy anymore?
Fastball was 111 stuff plus last night. So still up there in terms of having a good ball. I mean, obviously he walked 2 guys. It was tough to watch in a game that's close like that, and you're very anxious, on the edge of your seat. He also, J.P. Crawford swung out of his shoes, and then he had a strikeout with 2 guys dropped the bat. His swing and miss is still one of the better-looking pitches in baseball. Guys are fooled when they get up there, but we just don't have it as often anymore. That first half of 2023, he had a 51% K rate before he was an All-Star. That's unbelievable. I don't know if we'll ever get back to that. I just have a really hard time believing that the guy we've seen part of 2 years ago, and even last year when it was tough to watch, but he was getting the job done time and time again, I have a hard time believing he's going to be completely washed. So I think I'm going to buy it, at least right now, as the closer of this team. I don't want him closing games, at least not right now. I do still think he can get back to that point. I still think that he, at his best, is better than any other pitcher in that bullpen at their best.
I want it to happen. If he is that guy, then this bullpen's better than I even imagined, and I just said it was the best bullpen in 10 years.
Yeah.
So I want that to happen. I don't think that's the case. Nobody's doubting that he can strike some guys out. His strikeout rate's unreal. It's just how many walks are you willing to give up before you strike out three batters? And I don't know what that answer is. I don't feel confident in it. I would say nobody in that ballpark last night felt confident in it. Once Dylan Moore came up to the plate, who had 2 home runs and all 4 of their RBIs yesterday, nobody wanted that at bat to happen. And as soon as he got through it, and credit to him, he got through it, Terry Francona knew to get him out of the game because he wasn't going to risk a run coming home off the arm of Alexis Diaz. I wish him nothing but the best. I hope he's a great pitcher for the Reds this year. I just don't know what that role is going to be because collectively we don't want him closing. I would say I would not want Alexis Diaz over Tony Santillan at this moment in the 8th inning. And Graham Ashcraft, I'd take Graham Ashcraft in the 7th. So that means Alexis Diaz is coming out in the 6th, 5th if we have a bad start.
There's no standard roles.
No, I know, but you're roughly that's what we've been doing, and I don't think that's going to change for Alexis Diaz.
If you have Pagan and Santillan through the day before, Alexis Diaz is your third option to go in those high leverage situations at this point, because you can't throw the guys out. It's not the bullpen by committee, but you use your arms when they're rested and they're ready to go, and that's what Alexis Diaz can be. I don't want to paraphrase you. I want to get an exact quote from you. Was it? I mean no disrespect, but I think he's washed. Was that the exact
Correct.
quote? Okay.
Correct.
Not disrespectful. That we know.
That's why I preface it with that statement.
Correct. No disrespect, but I think he's washed is not disrespectful whatsoever. We're going to take a short break. We come back. More buy or sell here on Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Rebounds filled in for Justin Kidder. More DT Williams. And welcome back to Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Rebounds filling in for Justin Kinner. We're doing buy or sell here in the final segment of the show. Yeah, final segment of the show. And of course, if you're listening on the radio, we go an extra 30 minutes every single day here on Off the Bench on the YouTube side. So come in, join the fun. There's a lot of chatters that agree, disagree with our takes, and it's a really good community. Actually, I think the majority of the people that are in our chat just like talking to each other more than they like listening to this show.
This is background noise.
Correct.
Yeah.
They like chatting with each other, talking ball, and sometimes it's not even ball. Sometimes it's just whatever TV shows or music they're into, or whatever's on their mind. What food they've been eating recently. It's a really good community. But we're gonna stay with the bullpen because I think that there's a lot to unfold when it comes to this Reds bullpen just by how well they're playing recently. I asked, is this the best bullpen of the last 10 years? I think we pretty much all bought. I asked, is Alexis Diaz washed? Another prevailing piece is a guy who's thrown really, really well this year. And it's a guy that has been a part of this team. At one point was thought to be part of the big three. The big three, it's Graham Ashcraft. Is Graham Ashcraft more valuable as a relief arm by herself?
He is. No question in my mind that he is. I think he's absolutely more valuable there because we talk about this rotation right now and we talk about how great it is and that the depth, and even you go down to the minors with Chase Petty, Rhett Lauder, Chase Burns coming up through single A right now. We obviously all think he's going to be a stud. Where do you put Graham Ashcraft in that rotation if everyone's healthy? He's not in it. He's not one of your top 5 pitchers. So the fact that they move him down right now, have him in the bullpen, and he is killing it so far, I think this fits him. I mean, what were his bad starts when he had bad starts. He'd get through 3-4 innings and then blow up before he can get an out in the 5th. So this is perfect for him, and it really does feel a little bit like the pitching version of what they should have done with Jonathan India. When you see all these guys coming up at the position that he plays, move him, try him somewhere else, see if he works at third and left field. That's where he's playing with the Royals, and it looks pretty good. They're getting ahead of this with Graham Ashcraft. Could he be our 5th guy right now and have Martinez in the bullpen? Sure, maybe. But why not have Ashcraft in the bullpen and see if he can fit there? And you know he's not going to be a starter. I love the Reds getting ahead of it, and I love that it's worked so well. I'm absolutely buying Graham Ashcraft in the bullpen.
Elliot?
He's been awesome. I mean, Graham Ashcraft's been awesome. I think a lot of people wanted Graham Ashcraft to be in the bullpen sooner than he got there.
For sure.
But I think in this role, you're going to see a different guy. You're going to see a guy with more confidence. This stuff that he's had in the past has been really, really good. And you move him to the bullpen, and now it's at a limited time. He can lock in. He can focus. He doesn't have to worry about seeing the lineup 3 times. You know, you see 3 batters, and you do your job. Sometimes you can go out there, you get 4 outs, 5 outs, 6 outs, because he has that versatility that Nick Martinez had last year. So now it's a Nick Martinez type of pitcher who can come in high leverage as well. Graham Ashcraft's awesome. He's awesome as a reliever, and I'm hoping, you know, all the fans that kind of gave up on him last year as a starter, they can get back in on him now as a reliever, because you're going to see it. He still hasn't allowed to run. I mean, he hasn't allowed to run in 8 2/3 innings pitched. You know, I think that he's not a closer type of guy, but if you can come in middle relief and be nails, you absolutely have a role. And I'm hoping eventually Nick Martinez joins him in the bullpen at some point this season, because that would be awesome. Having Nick Martinez, Graham Ashcraft be your long relievers, while also having Brent Suter thrown in there too. It's this bullpen can only get better. And that's why I think it's a top 10 bullpen, in large part because of what Graham Ashcraft is able to do right now and what you can maybe get out of Nick Martinez too.
We talked about Alexis Diaz's velocity yesterday coming down and being a little bit concerning. Graham Ashcraft's cutter getting all the way up to 98 this year out of the bullpen. It's unbelievable. One of the best pitches in baseball, according to most of those advanced metrics. He's been awesome.
So when you look at a baseball season, I have this. Everyone thinks that the currency of baseball is runs. Everyone thinks, because that's how you win games. You got to score runs. You got to keep people. The currency of baseball is outs. How many outs, right? You got 1,500 innings, something around that over the course of a year, without doing any extra innings. It's like 1458, something along those lines. 3 outs an inning. How do you get there? And with a guy like Graham Ashcraft, who has experience starting, and he can go several innings, to where like an Alexis Diaz, even at the peak of his powers, when he was the best, you're getting 60 to 65 innings out of Alexis Diaz tops, right? You can't ask him to go 85 to 90 to 100. Part of the reason that Nick Martinez can get a $20 million qualifying offer is because he can start, he can do relief, he's going to get 120 innings. That's what I think Graham Ashcraft is really valuable in this situation, to where he's not just a 3-out guy. He's not just a 1-inning guy. You can get 100 innings out of Graham Ashcraft. Oh, someone's got a little elbow fatigue. Starting pitcher's got a Graham, hey, you're throwing today. Can you give us 4 innings? Can you get through the lineup 2 times, then we'll get somebody else? You can do that with Graham Ashcraft, and that's an incredibly valuable piece to have. That's how relief pitchers were when they first came out. Many rosters in the 1950s and 60s, they had their 5 starting pitchers. They had like 3 relievers. And the relievers would come in every day for 3 innings. They throw 120. Robin Roberts, I believe, with the Philadelphia Phillies was one of the big pieces. Jim Bunning, I think, had that same. Both Hall of Fame pitchers. They were kind of these guys that you would ask, hey, can you get 2.5 innings today? Can you get us 3 innings today? Graham Ashcraft can get you probably around 100 innings this year and still giving his best stuff. Does he have the ability to give you his best stuff for 6? No. We've seen it. Same with Nick Martinez, to be quite honest. There's a lot of parity between Nick Martinez and Graham Ashcraft in the way they pitch. Yeah. When you're asking them, hey, can you get us your best stuff, full go for 4 innings? Can you do that? Yes, I can. Can you get 5 innings? I don't know. That's where it starts to you start to lose, whether it just be their conditioning, whether it be they just don't have the stuff. They don't have that ability. Everyone's pitching assets are different. But you know what is different? A 98-mile-an-hour cutter. You don't see that a whole lot in baseball. You don't. That's the reason why when pitchers start to struggle, one of the first pitches they're taught is, hey, we got to get you a new pitch. Can you learn this cutter? You got a great fastball. Can you learn this cutter? Jake Arrieta saved his career by throwing a cutter. John Lester extended his career. Sorry that I'm bringing up Cubs players. That's how I think. I don't know what Reds pitchers had extended their career via the cutter. But when you get that, that's a really, really difficult pitch. 98, working away from a right-handed hitter and working into a left-handed hitter, borderline unhittable. So that's Graham Ashcraft is certainly more valuable in the role that he's facing as opposed to asking him, hey, can you stretch yourself out into 5-6 innings?
Elliot proposed the question yesterday, and I would love to know what your opinion is on it. Would Graham Ashcraft and Nick Martinez be one of the best starters in the league?
So yeah,
just combine the two.
So you can just tell him like, hey, Nick, you got the first 4,
right?
Graham, you got the next 3, and then you get to
8-9 guy, bang.
And say Nick Martinez starts it off rough. You just watch it. Hey, throw someone else out there for 5, 6, 7. Yeah. I don't know who that. Ian Jabot maybe. One of the guys or Barlow. Bring him out.
That's
there.
when Martinez had a lot of success last year as the starter. Was really when he was used more as the opener and wasn't forced to go through the lineup, a multitude of times. And that's where he's struggled a lot this year. So I don't know if I'm necessarily saying Ashcraft would be a better person in that role than Martinez is. We know how valuable Ashcraft's been in the bullpen so far, but. Maybe, don't be so aggressive with Martinez, leaving him in games tonight. I mean, I know Ashcraft pitched yesterday an inning in a third, but don't be too scared to pull him after 3. You know, if he doesn't have his stuff, use the bullpen. We've talked for, 2 segments now about how that's a strength of this team. Starting pitching, usually you're going to have faith in these guys going later into games. Maybe Nick Martinez isn't that guy, at least not right now. And we'll, focus on that.
All right, so the Cincinnati Reds, they have won 4 in a row, 6 of their last 7. Graham Ashcraft, man, he looks good. It's funny about a cutter. I don't know if you guys know that. Mariano Rivera, obviously the famous, the greatest relief pitcher in Major League Baseball, threw 1 pitch his entire career. 1 pitch.
Yeah.
Just threw that cutter. And if you think about it, if you know that pitch is coming, the only thing you have to worry about is where it's coming in, and you can figure that out by where the catcher sets up. So I think Michael Young said this, played for the Rangers, really, really good ball player, multiple-time All-Star. He was like, listen, we would tell the on-deck hitter to, hit the bat against the ground if it was inside or, hit the bat against the wall if it was outside. And we knew where it was coming. We knew what pitch was coming. Still couldn't hit it. Just shows you how dominant that pitch can be. Man, the Reds they're exciting this town. They're exciting this town. And I am the most trusted voice when it comes to the Cincinnati Reds.
That's what they say.
In this area. That's what everyone says on X.com. I am the most trusted voice about the Cincinnati Reds in this area. But I believe that does it for us here today on Off the Bench. On the radio side, we're going to go to the YouTube side when we get done, and we'll talk about Cincinnati Bengals, other things here in town. But Reed Mouse filling in for Justin Kenner. He'll be back tomorrow. Hopefully we'll be talking about a Reds win once again. Jacob Tissett, thank you for producing today. Elliot, thank you for being here as always. We're signing off here on the radio side, 1410 Wing AM. All right, we're back here on Off the Bench YouTube side, guys. It's been fun filling in these 2 weeks. I was talking to my wife because I'm going out of town for the next few days, and it's been a while. Me and my wife had traveled a lot over the past few years, but really I haven't been out of town other than for work events since last May. And I know that's a first world problem. It's been 11 months since oh, poor me and everything like that. But it is exciting to get out of town with my friend celebrating his soon-to-be wedding. So I'm excited for that. And I was just sometimes you just get a little groove. This is my vacation show. See this right here? It's my vacation. Going down, leaving at 5 a.m, going down to South Carolina. But man, it's this town. Everyone, the arguments are if this is a baseball town, if this is a football town. And I've always said, while this team has certainly fallen in love with Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals to a greater degree than I had seen my entire life, there's something about when this team is playing well, the Cincinnati Reds play well, that it is, as a baseball fan, so exciting to see. Just like my dad, he's a diehard Reds fan. Went to the game for his birthday yesterday. When he is calling me, talking about the Cincinnati Reds, I get excited about it. And I don't like the Reds. I am the most trusted voice when it comes to the Reds, but I don't like the Reds. It's exciting when they're playing well. And man, what a turnaround it's been since last Monday when we were setting up at Prasco Park and the first game, and they blow, or it was a Wednesday when they blew the sweep.
Yeah.
And the season was dead, and they haven't lost. They've won one. They've lost one time since. No, they haven't lost.
No, that
since
was the loss.
That was the last
7,
loss. Yeah, 6 of 7. Man, it's a quick turnaround. But I can't overstate this enough, and it's something hard to wrap your brain around, is when you're playing well, you need to get as many wins as you can possibly get. I remember as a Cubs fan, 2023, they played really well in April, but they were like 11-9 through 20 games because they'd blown a few games here and there, and then you miss the playoffs by 1 game, and you're just like, man, it's kind of sits sour on you that you didn't capture as many wins. But the Reds are simply put doing that right now, and we'll see what there is about the Tito Francona conversation in a few months. We'll see. We'll see what there is to be.
If they make the playoffs, they'll build a statue of him. They'll build a statue of him this year.
Yeah.
If they don't, I don't know where they'll be.
They put all their chips, and Reed honestly kind of said it when he was, starting out the preview for last night's game. Yeah, if Austin Hays is out there playing well, and Gavin Lux is out there playing well, and Matt McClain's healthy, and CES is healthy, and Ellie's healthy, then yeah, this team can be right on the doorstep of the playoffs. If everything goes well and every single player plays up to their ceiling, we might have a chance. And that's my issue with all these games, is just you get these wins, and it's like we need everyone to play to their peak in order to beat good teams, and we'll see how long that can last. But I'm certainly going to have fun while it lasts.
Do you guys truly believe, and I know we're doing this when the roller coaster's riding high, are you guys seeing the path in which the Reds make the postseason?
This season?
This season. No. Still no?
I think there's roughly a 0% chance. And that really more comes from not a huge Reds discrepancy. I think they could still win, push 85 wins maybe as the ceiling of this team probably is where I'm at right now. I think the Cubs get over 90 and win the Central.
I agree.
I think 89, 90 is probably about the NL wild card.
Yeah.
So unless you can talk yourself into the Reds winning 90 games, I don't know how you can confidently say they're a playoff team this year.
I'm not gonna sit here and say that I think the Reds are a playoff team.
I still think there's going to be months and weeks where we have a lot of fun looking at the standings, and they're ripping off wins, and maybe they are in that third wild card spot in the middle of July or whatever. But I don't think they're.
It is funny that we talk about bars that you have to clear. Obviously, for the Bengals for the last 2 years, it was be a true Super Bowl contender.
Yeah.
We talked about for the Bearcats. As sad as this is for their basketball squad, it's literally, and Xavier really, was from where it was 10 years ago. It's just make the tournament and we're all happy here in town. I don't know where it's at for Bearcats football. I don't even know if there is a bar for Bearcats football right now. It seems like any talk around them is just waiting until they're like a good 10-win team and they're like, all right, what's this team about? But for the Reds, for the last decade, besides maybe last year, the bar was, can this team play exciting baseball in August? Can we care about their games in August, in September? They obviously did that 2 years ago. I knew that they were kind of flirting with it last August. I think I got on Nick Kirby's case, middle of August when he was scoreboard watching. And I was like, I feel like 6 weeks away from the season, it's too early to do the scoreboard watching. Maybe I just don't have the mental fortitude to be worrying about what other teams are doing in mid-August. I just worry about.
You only have so many weeks as a Reds fan where you can hold on to those standings and worry about it. So as soon as you get to August and the Reds are in the mix, you scoreboard watch because you don't have much time to do it because they're going to lose.
Okay. Do you guys miss the out-of-town scoreboard in left field at GABP?
Yeah. I don't know if I miss it consciously when I'm there, but now that you said it, I love
left
that.
field.
So the left field wall
yes
used to just be lights. It's not. Yes. It wasn't an LED screen. It was just lights, and it had all the teams, and you could look there. I mean, now we have our phones. They have out of town scoreboards. I think near the Phi Optics deck on the LED screens, and that's just used for promotional. So I get why they do it for more money and everything like that. But
they used to have all the divisions out in right field too. The flags would
before they still do that, right? It's now an LED screen to the right of the video board,
but
it used to
through a couple of graphics.
They used to have all of them lined up out there,
and it used to be actual flags.
Yes.
Used to be, and you could see where people were. I remember I went to a game where the Cubs played the Reds in late September, and it was 2008. So the Cubs were trying to win the National League Central, and the Reds were terrible.
Yeah.
Were terrible. And the Cubs obviously were like a 90-win team. And we were looking at the out-of-town scoreboard, Cubs fans. I was 10 at the time, 12 at the time. So I don't know if I could do the role. But the Cubs fans that were in the stadium were looking at how the Brewers were doing. And I saw that the Cardinals beat the Brewers, and all the Cubs fans started cheering. And I remember this old Reds fan was like, you beat a AAA team today. Because the Cubs were beating the Reds at the time. And I was like, no one's caring about this game anymore. It's like 12-0. Like, who cares about this? We're strictly looking at the out-of-town scoreboard. And then another old memory that I have installed is Marty Brenneman, listening to Marty Brenneman on the radio call when the Rangers beat the Baltimore Orioles 30-3. And he was talking about if there was a glitch on the out-of-town scoreboard because he just kept seeing go 24, 25, 26, 30-3. Fun fact about that, and baseball stats are weird. There was a save in that game. The Rangers
innings.
The Rangers got a save when they won 30-3.
That's one of the worst.
Like, go 3 innings, baby. You go 3 innings, you get the save.
Yeah, if you had the lead and you finish the game out throwing 3 innings, you get the save. So.
Speaking of scoreboards, I told Elliot before the show, but it's just I was getting a kick out of it yesterday. They have the scoreboards in left with the lineups, and it's just the player's number, and then the single, double, whatever. Well, yesterday, obviously, Jackie Robinson Day, all the players wearing 42, so that scoreboard just had 10 42s down it. And I was like, this is the most useless graphic we've ever put up. Because unless you memorize the batting order, I mean, I was trying to see who was up next for the Mariners. I was like, I have no idea.
42's up.
Yeah, 42 up
42's
next.
up.
Yeah. Hey, that's I didn't know. Was that an actual conversation that was had between Pee Wee Reese and Jackie about from the movie 42? We're like, hey, maybe we'll all wear 42s so they can't tell us apart. Or was that done after they said, we're all just going to wear 42? Like, I wonder which, because if that was something that was like a tongue-in-cheek thing that was said between the Brooklyn Dodgers, and Jackie at that time, then that's an incredible thing that we do here in Major League Baseball. Shout out to also Casey McAllister, who didn't know who Jackie Robinson was like a month ago.
You're going to out him like that.
And he didn't know who Jackie Robinson was a month ago. He texted us and he goes, someone was teasing him about how it was Jackie Robinson Day, and if he was, to Casey's credit, I don't think anyone knows what day Jackie Robinson Day is. Like, no one's like, it's April 15th, it's Jackie Robinson Day. We find out that it's Jackie Robinson Day when you show up at the park and everyone's wearing 42.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, those patches that they gave out at the game yesterday, I love
cool.
those. Those were really,
nice.
Those were high quality patches.
Those are cool.
Thoughts on the blue numbers? So that was pretty split on. I know it's been 2 or 3 years now, but that was pretty split on.
Was it blue or was it black?
It was blue. They were Dodgers blue and 42 in Dodgers font
really
on
dark.
the back of the
They
jerseys.
really
I
dark.
love them on our jerseys.
Yeah.
Look terrible on the Mariners jerseys. So I understand why a lot of people are more upset. Up until 2-3 years ago, they were in your team's font. It was just a normal Reds jersey, number 42, no name. Now they do the Dodgers blue. I saw a lot of people were upset about that yesterday. I think it looks cool.
I agree. I think I had no qualms. Do you guys like the Reds' new alternates, the ones that they debuted, the white ones that everyone says are bland?
I think they're getting bullied out of using them.
Oh, they
have not announced them, and the only official pictures they've ever posted in those uniforms are one Instagram story of Gavin Lux at Day Air Ballpark. So the general hate, I think, got them put back in the box.
I thought they were fine. I thought they were clean. I liked them
as well.
I hate them more than life itself.
I'm not a big jersey guy, though. That's a conversation that, like, when my friends, like, we're watching games together, like, I hate their jerseys. I guess I'm just
jerseys
not a
won,
keen...
players too.
You like
what's
the jersey?
most important out there?
Okay.
I think the Mariners jerseys were cool yesterday. I like.
They have great colors.
I like that.
Well, that's. I've
blue.
said this a lot about Major League Baseball. The new teams get to kind of mess with their jerseys. Mariners came out in 1977. We're an expansion team, so because they don't have 100 years of tradition, they get to do whatever the heck they want. They get to wear whatever they want. The Marlins change their color scheme. I think every 3 years it feels like. The Diamondbacks, they change their stuff all the time. All the newer teams. The Rockies have been pretty true. Since they came out in 1993 to pretty much just what they've always been wearing. But yeah, those new teams like the Cubs and the Reds and the Pirates and the Cardinals, they're 100+ years old. And they just got to wear what they've almost always traditionally. They can have an alternate that they can mess around with, but
I'd give anything for the Reds to go to throwbacks. wear jerseys you've actually worn in the past. I hate their jerseys now for the most part. They're their home whites with the piping. I think it's just so outdated. The only ones I do like, obviously City Connects, but I don't really count those because they're, 2 years old, 3 years old?
The ones you like are the ones I hate.
I love the gray jerseys. I think the Reds' gray jerseys are some of the better jerseys in really all of baseball. Cincinnati across the chest, I think's phenomenal. That's the one that I have bought of current jerseys, but I can't stand the home white jerseys with that piping. It looks so outdated to me.
The Cubs, their new alternates, you guys have seen those pictures of the old font, their baby blues and everything like that. It came out recently that they've sold more jerseys already of their new jersey than they sold of their City Connects, period.
No way.
Wow.
Yeah, because they've retired their City Connects, the Wrigleyville City Connects. So also I have a City Connect jersey. It's just useless now. And I did get it for free. Shout out Fanatics, which, by the way, I mean, we're not sponsored by any sportsbook right now. They have the best rewards by bar none.
I haven't used a different sports book in a year.
What is it? You get I think it's 5% back, or
I think it's 1% on straight bets, 5% on parlays.
Okay.
It's different per bets and it's different per odds, but
it's 10% on same game or something like that.
Instead of the crowns or whatever useless stuff you get on all the other apps, whatever the FanDuel one is, it's fan cash that you can just use on Fanatics. It's phenomenal.
You
ordered like 3 hats. I got a Tia Higgins jersey.
I was going to say, do you use them for gear, or do you use them for bets?
I've never used it for a bet. I did use one. I bet on a game and then immediately used the fan cash on that team's hat.
I only
felt like the way you should do it.
You don't get any new gear.
No, I only use the bets.
Which you guys bet parlays more than me, so you guys are probably racking up those.
Oh, I get a lot of them.
I was gonna say you probably rack up that cash.
Yeah,
and 5% on fan cash. That's incredible.
I'm back. I'm all the way back up to like $85 right now. About to get another jersey.
Yeah, I mean, I used DraftKings for 5 years, and I looked at all my crowns. Never had redeemed those crowns once, and you can redeem them for free bets. And I redeemed them. 5 years using that quite frequently, betting a lot of thousands of dollars, in total bets over the 5 years. And I redeemed them one time, and it was like $70. It was like $70 worth of crowns.
Joke.
So
what a joke!
Is what it is.
There was some Bengals news.
Yeah.
You ready for this?
We've all been waiting.
You ready for this? The Bengals have reunited with quarterback Logan Woodside.
Toledo Rocket.
TOL. My guy. That was my quarterback when I was there. So good for him.
He didn't leave, did he?
The Bengals?
Like, he was just a free agent after last year, and they just brought him back, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they didn't reunite. Never really broke up.
Stayed united.
Yeah.
Never remained together.
No, he was a free agent.
But he never.
He was only a free
else.
agent because
but
the season ended.
Yeah, but they could have not. Okay. and also, your guy, Drew Sample, it's his birthday today.
How did that not start the show?
Happy birthday, Drew Sample. What about that?
Yeah. So happy birthday to Drew Sample. Good for him.
It's also my father-in-law's birthday.
Okay. Wow.
Scott Gordon.
That's a lot of birthdays right in a row.
No.
Father and father-in-law back-to-back days.
Back-to-back. Uncle's the day before my dad's.
Wow, that's crazy. What
My
are the
grandpa
odds?
said the same exact birthday.
Really?
My 2 grandpas, same exact
That's cool.
birthday.
Yeah.
Super Bowl Sunday, ironically.
That can't be every year.
No.
I was going to say, that's not.
We celebrated every Super Bowl.
I was gonna say they move their birthday around. I have a friend that was born on leap year.
Oh, so he's what, like 5?
Well, they've celebrated 5 birthdays,
Right.
but obviously they've been around the sun a few times.
Correct.
But yeah, she celebrates it wherever the weekend is.
Oh.
So like, if it's beforehand,
that.
they do February 28th. If it's afterhand, it's the first weekend of March. So it's just dealer's choice there. You just really just celebrate it whenever you want because your birthday's just not. It's got to be kind of cool when you finally get it, right? You finally, this is my real birthday. I get to actually get my real birthday.
Tyrese Halliburton, leap year baby.
Nice.
I don't know any other celebrities.
No, I don't know any.
Knowing professional ball play, I know a lot of random things, but knowing their birthdays seems sicko.
I just know that because they posted a happy 4th birthday for him, whatever it was
nice.
last year, and
Nice.
it went like viral.
Nice, but
Has this draft been one of the more least hyped drafts?
it's one of the worst talented drafts in a while.
I
You
heavily disagree.
You do?
Yeah. Daniel Jeremiah put out a great article about it yesterday, and I think this is basically exactly to a T where I stand on this draft. He said all 30 teams can leave this draft with 2 or 3 week 1 starters. There's
Really?
that many players in this draft. There might be 2 superstars. You're taking 2nd and 3rd round players in the 20s, but they're good enough to start in the NFL. So for a team like the Bengals, where you have, your superstars kind of taken care of.
Sure.
I think it's setting up to be as perfect as it can for a team with only 6 picks where you need them to contribute right away. We're going to be able to get older guys in the 5th and 6th round that if we do break away from some of our, traditional Bengals drafting norms, you can get some elite production with guys that fall down the board because they're kind of just in the mix with everyone else. I think the similarities between the 50th best player this year and the 100th best player this year are pretty similar between like 7 and 20.
So there's a negative connotation with the word mediocre, which I don't know if that's necessarily always should be the case, because mediocre just means, it's average, right? It's just on par. It's just more of the normal. It's not a bad draft. It's a mediocre draft. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think that could be fair. Certainly towards the top, it's going to be lighter than we've seen in recent history. I think Travis Hunter, depending on what he does in the NFL, can change the view of this draft pretty drastically. If he goes on and he is a two-way player in the NFL, then certainly this one would be looked back on as a pretty solid draft, because I have full confidence in Abdul Carter being an all-pro level player. I think Cam Ward already locked in going to the Titans at 1. I think he's going to be a good player. I think Will Campbell and Armand Membu are both great tackles. We've talked about a lot of the edge rushers that are very talented. So I think this is a good draft at the top. I do think a lot of that star power comes from a weak quarterback class, which usually drives most of the conversation.
It's one of the worst quarterback classes ever.
Well, the positions where it's deep aren't easy.
Sexy.
Right. Well, it's like, obviously, it's a really good running back.
Phenomenal.
It's a really good running back class, which, as you know, if you've watched this show for years, you know my take on running backs, though it's kind of twisted backwards a little bit because, things move and go.
Does this not prove your take right?
It does.
There's more running backs coming out of college that are NFL ready than ever.
Well, so that's the thing about running backs, and everyone always, running backs don't matter, and it's just like, listen, is Derrick Henry, I think he got $8 million last year. Is Derrick Henry getting $8 million a year a little bit of an overcorrection by NFL GMs? Certainly. Is Saquon Barkley made $14 last year?
Yeah.
Is Saquon Barkley worth more than $14 million? Certainly. A little bit of an overcorrection. The problem is while those guys are elite, certainly elite, much better than, the second tier of players, there's really not many bad running backs. like you can get pretty much decent protection or decent production out of anybody for $2 million, $3 million, $4 million, especially if you have a good offensive line. So that's where running backs don't. It's like middle relievers, I guess, or maybe it's closer to like
managers.
Managers is a good one. Catchers is maybe another one, to where when you have the Buster Posies of the world, when you have the Adley Rutschmans of the world, you put yourself in an extremely elite case. The JT Realmuto, when he was the best catcher in the game, you put yourself
Tyler Stevenson
above everyone else. But, Jose Trevino is pretty much like, you can get Jose Trevino and you're going to get a pretty good catcher out of it. You're certainly not going to hurt yourself at that catcher position. Certainly there are some teams that have just terrible situations at running back and catcher, but you can solve it fairly cheaply. I don't know. You can just see, it just seems like let me put it this way. I've never looked at an NFL team and thought that team's a running back away from championship. Now we just saw what happened with the Philadelphia Eagles. They get Saquon Barkley and they look like a completely different team. But I've never looked at a team and go, man, that team is so close, they just need a running back, and they are going to be off to the races. So, in full, Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, they're getting underpaid. Maybe the NFL shouldn't have let those guys get paid for $8 million and $14 million respectfully. But at the same jest, you can get a guy for $3.5 million. You can draft a guy in the 3rd or 4th round, and you'll probably do pretty well at the running back position, especially if you get a guy that fits your talent pool, like we did in Cincinnati with Chase Brown.
And get ready, Bengals fans, because they're taking another one.
Yeah.
They are absolutely, without a doubt, taking running back in this year's draft. I don't know what this will be, day 2 or day 3, but they're not going to leave this draft without a running back, and Bengals fans are going to lose their mind when that pick comes in, because if you go through the surprises last year, at least positively, Chase Brown's at the top of that list and maybe the only player on that list. So I think it's going to be certainly a tough pill for a lot of Bengals fans to swallow when they draft a running back in this class, but You took Chase Brown in the middle rounds a couple years ago. How often have we seen those middle round backs carve out consistent roles in offenses? Think about just 2 years ago, Isaiah Pacheco, 7th round pick, a little bit later than Chase Brown, but great year in Kansas City, wins a Super Bowl. They immediately turn and try to figure out who's next in that backfield.
Yeah.
So I think the perfect situation for Chase Brown is for the Bengals to pair him with a back. They met with both the Ohio State backs, Quinshon Judkins, Travion Henderson. They met with Hamilton's own, Caleb Johnson. So could be very, very fun to meet up with any of those three. They have been using mostly local visits on running back, so should be a little bit later in the draft than 2nd or 3rd round, but they will leave with a running back, and then 1st round looks like it's shaping up to be O-line if one of the tackles fall, and they feel confident about moving them to guard, but they've also worked out Walter Nolan and a lot of the edge rushers as well, so defense in the 1st round seems like a priority.
Isn't it so funny that we get worked up about, in baseball, about the Dodgers spending all this money, and rightfully so. And we get worked up in the NBA about super teams being created. The NFL really doesn't seem to have this problem. But all sports, the 3 major American sports, if you don't draft well, you're not good.
Yeah.
Simple as that. Every team's foundation, every really, really good team, its foundation, sans the Los Angeles Dodgers. And to be frank, they did this. The reason that they won 10 straight National League West titles was a lot in part to do with bringing up their own talent. Now that's a different story. They've got a different team with Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, Shohei Ohtani, all coming from elsewhere. But in all sports, you got to hit on your draft picks. I mean, you look at who's the best team in the NBA? Boston Celtics. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, drafted by the Boston Celtics. Now they brought other pieces, Kristaps and everything like that. They brought other pieces in. The last dynasty in the NBA was the Warriors. All those guys were homegrown until they brought in Kevin Durant. Yeah, they supplement it. You look at baseball, the best teams in the past 10 years, the Astros, they seemingly drafted all their guys. The Atlanta Braves drafted and signed all their guys. The Chicago Cubs before that drafted and signed in international free agents. Like, those are all homegrown guys that we can talk about roster construction and everything like that. We know what it takes to be good in every sport. We know what it is. There's no secret sauce. There's no secret recipe. How you go about that might depend from franchise to franchise, but it's simply put, we have a draft, and you got to hit on the guys. That's why everyone's looking at the Kansas City Chiefs right now, and I know they just were 15-2. They won 2 consecutive Super Bowls, and they just went to the Super Bowl. But a lot of people are starting to look at this Kansas City Chiefs team and go, yikes, this roster isn't looking great. Are they going to start falling off? Well, the reason, if that is the case, if they do that, well, because they're not hitting on draft picks. They're not hitting on the weapons to help supplement Patrick Mahomes. They're not hitting on the offensive line talent to help supplement Patrick Mahomes and help protect Patrick Mahomes. The reason that the Philadelphia Eagles are so good, yeah, they just got Saquon Barkley for $14 million, but most of their guys were homegrown. I know A.J. Brown wasn't, but, a lot of line, a lot of defensive line, a lot of linebackers, like they're doing very well. They're doing very well. You simply put. And when you look at why the Bengals haven't been to the degree in which we expect them to be over the past few years, is because they haven't had many impact players brought through the draft since 2001. Now, I think that there's been a couple good drafts. I think, was it 2 years ago, the Chase Brown draft? Looking at that one in hindsight, there are some players that I think can help this team going forward. I think last year's draft class has a lot of, I don't know if influential players is the case, but a lot of helping hands. And I think you can do the same thing with this draft class, to where, hey, you got the superstars. Can you help surround them? We'll see. We'll see. And it's hard for me to talk about the NFL draft, just being completely honest with you guys here in the chat. Don't watch tape. Don't watch tape. So I'm very much, hey, who's our guy? What do I need to know about them? All right, should I be excited? Okay, then I'll craft my opinion on that.
I'm gonna wait for Jacob to tell me if the guy's good or not.
You have your guys.
I have my guys.
Yeah, the 2 guys the Bengals can't leave the draft without.
Fannin.
Scatterbo.
Oh, and Scatterbo. I always have said that I want Scatterbo to be a Bengal. I want Fannin. I want my guy Fannin.
Yeah, Harold Fannin, man. He's about as exciting as a prospect as you can get. I read Elliott the names yesterday. I know the Bengals don't necessarily need a tight end, but he doesn't play tight end. He's more of a receiver anyway. I think it would be a fun late-round pick if it works out. The other tight ends in his range are of production and age coming out of college are, T.J. Hawkinson, Dallas Goedert, Eric Ebron, guys that had elite receiving years with solid blocking. I think that Harold Fanning can be incredible. And the other 2 tight ends in this class both have been linked to the Bengals, potentially in the first round, Tyler Warren and Colston Loveland. A lot of people go, whoa, we shouldn't take a tight end. We just signed Mike Gesicki to a big deal. Get it through your head that Mike Gesicki doesn't play tight end. Mike Gesicki is the Tyler Boyd replacement. He's the slot receiver. He's our wide receiver 3. The Bengals very much still need a tight end 1. Maybe that is Eric All at some point down the line. I'm not confident in a guy that's tore his ACL twice in the last 3 years.
He won't play next year.
Right, being healthy at any point in time in his career, so much less next season. They need to address that, or it's going to be Drew Sample out there a lot, which get him in open space, and who knows what can happen.
So Elliot one time told me that he believes that they don't play I'm a Reds fan, that's what I am, at Reds games because of him, because he complained on X.com
believe
about
that.
He truly believes that. I have got in my brain that they are getting the ball to Drew Sample early in the games because of my little old Twitter account saying get Drew Sample the ball in open space, because he catches a pass on the first drive every time, every game, and then doesn't catch another pass for the rest of the game. And it's like in the first 4 plays. All right, we'll dump it off to Drew Sample. We get our 5 yards. All right, offense unlocked. We can go from here now. I don't know. The Drew Sample bit, I think Elliot thought I was being serious when I first did it.
Oh, I definitely did.
Because he would always give me credit. He's like, I'll give Reed credit. He was on Drew Sample being a productive tight end from the get-go. And I was like, yeah, man, it was all a bit.
He's not. And he's not a productive tight end.
Right.
We'll never forget when you flew into the end zone.
Second round pick.
From a second round pick, certainly not. But he does the dirty work. And those guys, similar to how I always believe, I brought this out earlier about the managers, I will never agree with people that say managers don't matter. Do I think that decision making plays a huge role in 162 when the analytics tell you that maybe not so much? Certainly. But I think the intangibles, the things that you can't quantify and never will be able to quantify, which is why we'll argue about it till the cows come home for decades and years on about whether managers matter or not. I think that these are humans, and certainly positive leadership, humans react to that. I think there's something to be said about a guy that you just plug into the offense and you go, hey, will you clean up the crap? Will you do the dirty work? Yeah. Will you do those things? And he says, yeah. And having guys like that is certainly worthwhile to keep around. For $5 million, I don't know about that. It's not the best deal when you look at it, and it seems like he could probably get him a little bit of a cheaper. But hey,
locker room guy.
To each his own.
Can't put a price tag on vibes.
When Drew Sample was drafted is maybe my favorite draft moment ever, and I don't watch day 3. I don't watch day 3. I watch day 1. I watch probably this. I watch day 2 when the Bengals are up. I don't watch the entire thing. You get the push notification, hey, the Bengals are on the clock. All right, turn on the thing on my phone, and I watch it from there. And when Mel Kiper, when Drew Sample was taken, Mel Kiper was befuddled. He's like, they try to dress it up as best they can. They're like, well, I tell you what, you really get down and dirty, whatever positive spinning on it. And Mel Kiper was like, we had this guy at a 4th or 5th round pick, and here he is taking early second. You're just like, Hey, it's Drew Sample's Zach Taylor's first draft class, so it is what it is. He's still around. Is he the longest tenured Bengal?
Sample? Well, now without Hubbard, yeah.
He has to be.
Since 2017? Is he the
has to
longest tenured Bengal? He was taken the same year as Jermaine Pratt, I believe. So them two together.
Yeah. Pratt's, dude, what are they doing with Jermaine Pratt? We've just been sitting here spinning our thumbs with Jermaine Pratt for 3 months now.
He's going to play too.
Yeah, probably. They'll just force him back out there.
My favorite thing as a Bengals fan is, all right, I'll do this first. My favorite thing as a Bengals fan is that we put deadlines, and sometimes it's the NFL putting deadlines on them, but we put deadlines. If the Bengals don't do it by this date, I'm out. I'll be pissed. And they never hit that date. Never once have they hit that date. Never once.
I think we've given them 3 or 4 dates with Trey now.
It's Trey, Joe Mixon last year. It was T. Higgins for the last 2 years. They never hit that date. So stop putting dates on them. Also, are we the only fan base in professional sports that give actual credence to fans on insider news?
Yes. Only one I see.
I think so.
I mean, we listen to, in all the guys that have huge platforms, all the fans, you've earned it because obviously you give great content and you wouldn't have had this fan base or your following without hard work and, entertainment, all that stuff, talent. But man, when and I'm just going to throw someone out here, he's never done this, so please don't say I'm throwing a shot because that's not the case. Like Bengals captain will come out and be like, I hear we're signing Joey Bosa to a 4-year deal, and we just run with it. We just go oh my God, seriously?
Yeah.
We do that as fans. We've got to be the only dumb enough fan base to do that consistently.
I think so.
Can you imagine? Oh, we'll compare it for the Reds. Can you imagine if Nick Kirby, Chad Dotson, one of these guys just came out and said, "Hey, here the Reds got just out of the blue, just tweeted it one day. Hey, here the Reds got an extension." I guess maybe the Reds fans would work with it if one of them was just like, "I hear we got an extension working on Matt McClain," with no basis at all.
None.
Maybe somebody that's a janitor at Paycor Stadium and they've seen her janitor at GABP and they've seen Matt McClain walk around after hours and they're like, I think we're working on an extension, and it just spirals out of control. I just think it's silly. I just can't imagine any other fan base doing that. But I don't know.
Honestly, what it feels like college. Being a fan of college sports team, it's message boards and rumors, and the Bengals. Being a fan of the Bengals falls a lot more closely to being a college football fan than most everything else, because our owners don't speak to us. We never know what's going on in the facility. It's all rumor based in the off season. Yeah, it's certainly unique, I think.
Is Chad Dotson not the fan, or he's a Reds fan, right? Or is that the right?
He was a writer though. Too.
Was he?
I don't know if
I just threw someone that I knew how to follow him for the Reds. Yeah.
No, he does. He does. I thought he was a writer though. I could be wrong on that. At Cincinnati Magazine or something. I don't know.
To be fair, I just keep my blinders on about my Reds takes and don't worry about anybody else's because I am the most trusted voice when it comes to the Cincinnati Reds in the local area. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Justin Kidder will be back. Elliot Ring, Jacob Tissa, thank you guys. We'll see you around.